passing off mode is going to maintain 4,000.
Control mode is on 4,000, Delta 2257.
Southwest 469, Denver Center closed for exchange approved.
Delta 1145 requesting a direct west go.
Is there a reason for that?
Negative Delta 1145.
Delta 1145, just verify that at Dusty would be resuming the Rochester 1 departure for the chart. Listener 5-2 radar contact the altitude.
Listener 5-2, 17, 1800, class down the runway heading.
Listener 5-2, Roger, Climate Federal 390, are you able to do the dog leg up north before turning east?
Yeah, we can do the dogleg northbound and 390 for Whistler 5-2.
Listener 5-2, Roger, turn left direct Tato, resume on navigation.
Okay, direct Tato, Whistler 5-2.
903 Whiskey Bravo, Minneapolis Center.
Minneapolis Center 903 Whiskey Bravo at 4,000 feet.
903 Whiskey Bravo, Minneapolis Center, verify your direct S9 at the moment.
Headed direct to Shine, VOR, and then on to Rhinelander.
903 Whiskey Bravo, Roger, climb maintain your radar contact, climb maintain level 2330, direct Rhinelander VOR.
Climb maintain, flight level 230, clear direct to Rhinelander VOR, November 903 Whiskey.
I'm captivated. I'm captivated by your side. I'm captivated.
That's Delta 2254 on the ground in Minneapolis, clear to Winnipeg.
By your side.
Delta 2254, Minneapolis Center, expect TDC.
Minneapolis Center, good afternoon, Delta 1560 with a PDC Golf 19 with information Sierra, looking for person start, please.
Say again the numbers, please.
Delta 1563.
Delta 1563, Minneapolis Center, push is approved.
Push approved, Delta 1563.
He said I love you, baby, all of the way down. Head to your toes, head to your toes. He said I want you, baby, all of the way down. Head to your toes, head to your toes. So I know if you touching me,
Delta
it's like you
1563, got a
know,
question for you.
it's like you know.
Go ahead.
Body
You
and
got the new scenery that just came out today?
the way he holds me.
Affirmative.
It's like he knows, it's like he knows, body and soul. I'm captivated. I'm captivated by your side. I'm captivated. I'm captivated.
Minneapolis Center, Delta
by your
1016.
side, by your side.
Delta 1016, Minneapolis Center.
Say, looking to pick up IFR clearance to Green Bay, Delta 1016.
Delta 1016 just came through on the PDC standby.
Roger that.
Minneapolis Center, Southwest 469, are we good to go to advisor?
Southwest 469, yeah, hit you off several minutes ago.
Sorry about that.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
I'm afraid no one gets to see Mr. Lachaise without an appointment, sir.
Well, you're... Shit.
Hello, Bozo.
What the fuck, game? You fuck.
Got him.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get moving here. I'm ready to fly. I'm ready to fly. Minneapolis Center, good evening. Delta 703 on the ground at Minneapolis. Looking to pick up IFR clearance to Toronto with information Sierra.
Delta 703, Minneapolis Center, PDC's coming down.
Roger that. Appreciate it. 703.
Are you on the south side of the airport?
Yes, sir. South side.
Roger. Switch at 840 Denver Center closed for 50 change approved today. What did you pay?
Okay. 1645. What's it for? GBR transition. Yeah, okay. Climb via 6, up maintain 7,000.
Minneapolis Center, Delta 1016 ready for taxi.
And
Delta 1016, have your
Alpha
runway
push.
30 left. Be able to make the turn at Alpha 3 on Alpha.
30 left.
Would I be able to just get the entire runway at Alpha 1, Delta 1016? Yeah, that's not a problem. I just want to know if you can turn on the Alpha 3 onto Alpha. Oh, affirmative, I can do that. Yeah, Delta 1016. Delta 1016, have your runway 30 left, taxi via Alpha 3, Alpha 1. Alpha 3, Alpha 1, exit 1016. Or Delta 1016.
Okay. Center Delta 703, ready for push and start.
Delta 703, push is approved.
Push approved for Delta 703, thanks. Plan 30 left. Left. Oh, it's always over there. It's always the keyboard. It's always over there. Always. I want to get out with this traffic.
Minneapolis Center, Alaskan 2125, ready to taxi.
Alaska 2125, runway 30 left, taxi via Alpha 1.
Alpha 130 left, Alaskan 2125.
Delta 1016, heavy, give way to Alaska 1785 on Alpha 1. Roger that, give way to Alaska 175 on Alpha 1, executive 1016. Or Delta 1016.
He keeps saying the exact F.
903 Whiskey Bravo, descend at false discretion, maintain 10,000, we'll get the right line altimeter for you.
Descend and maintain 10,000, discretion. 903 Whiskey Bravo.
03 Whiskey Bravo, the Rhinelander, let's just give you the full 8 or full METAR windcom, visibility 3/4 mile, mist, ceiling 200 overcast, temperature 9, dew point 9 or altimeter 2983, when able, safe approach request.
Altimeter 29.83, 903 Whiskey Bravo. Can you repeat the last?
Let's see, visibility 3/4 miles, mist, ceiling 200 overcast.
Visibility 300 miles, mist 200 overcast, 903 Whiskey Bravo. Thank you.
Alaska 2125, fly heading 360, runway 30 left, clear for takeoff.
130 left, clear for takeoff, fly heading 360, Alaska 2125.
Delta 2257.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Delta 2257, turn right, heading 270 and intercept runway 30 right, localizer, sorry about that.
Alright, 270, intercept localizer, Delta 2257, no problem.
Whiskey, can we continue straight ahead on Juliet to the ramp?
36 Whiskey, proceed as requested, good day.
See you, thanks for your travel control, have a great day.
Center Walker 3826, step away for about 7 mics. Approved. Delta 10, Minneapolis Center. Go ahead for 1016, Minneapolis. Sorry, similar call sign, Delta 10, also, or trying to get to Delta 10. Delta 1016, heavy runway 30 left, line up and wait.
30 left, line up and landing. Delta 1016.
Minneapolis Center, Delta 10, entering your airspace from the west at flight level 410.
Delta 2257, clear direct SAMS, cross SAMS 4000 or above, cleared Alice runway 30 right approach.
Repeat that please for Delta 10.
Delta 2257, clear direct SAMS, cross SAMS 4000 or above, cleared Alice runway 30 right approach.
Did you say Delta 2257, I'm Delta 10?
Delta 2257.
Sorry about that.
Delta 10, didn't forget about you though, squawk 4241, good evening.
Thought you did for a second there. So Delta 10 squawking 4241.
Here, 903 Whiskey Bravo, Minneapolis Center, say approach request.
Looking for 09. Approach the ILS 09.
Alaska 2125, radar contact, the altitude.
5.5 to 7,
18.6, going down to 10.
Alaska 2125, roger, climb and maintain 17,000, clear direct S9, resume on navigation.
Shoot out S9 up to 17,000, Alaska 2125.
Delta 2257, you're 5 miles from SAMS, cross SAMS 4000 or above, cleared Alice runway 30 right approach.
Cleared ILS 30 right, Delta 2257.
Delta 1016, heavy flying 280, runway 30 left, clear for takeoff.
Heading 280, 30 left, clear takeoff, Delta 1016.
Center Delta 2254, gate, I forget, requesting push on the Quebec information here.
Delta 2254, push on to Quebec is approved.
Push on to Quebec to Delta 2220.
903 Whiskey Bravo, clear direct to Arsha, cross Arsha 3,500 or above, cleared Alice runway 9er approach Rhinelander.
Clear direct to Arsha. Cross Arsha 5000. 903 Whiskey Bravo.
Delta 703, ready for taxi.
Delta 703, say again.
Ready for taxi.
Delta 703, runway 30 left, taxi via Alpha.
30 left via Alpha, Delta 703.
Delta 1016, heavy radar contact, the altitude.
Climbing through 3,000 to 7,000.
Delta 1016, heavy roger, turn right heading 360, climb and maintain 17,000.
Right heading 360, climb maintain 17,000, Delta 1016.
Delta 2257, runway 30 right, clear to land.
Land 30 right, Delta 2257.
57, Kansas City Center closed, frequency change approved.
36 approved, Delta 611.
Southwest 5796, Minneapolis Center. Alaska 2125, cleared direct Green Bay.
Direct Green Bay, Alaska 2125.
Delta 1016 Heavy, cleared direct S9, resume the departure.
Clear direct S9, resume the departure, Delta 1016.
Alaska 2125, climb and maintain flight level 290.
290. Alaska 2125.
Delta 1016 Heavy, climb and maintain flight level 290.
Climb maintain flight level 290, Delta 1016.
Flight test, please prepare for takeoff.
Lufthansa 439, Minneapolis Center.
And center from Whistler 52, just an advisory, all the way through surface up to 390, there's light to moderate turbulence.
Whistler 52, roger, thank you.
Delta 703 is short, 30 left, ready to go.
Delta 703 Heavy, fly heading 360, runway 30 left, cleared for takeoff.
Heading of 360, clear for takeoff, 30 left, Delta 703. Hey, what do we got here? ALY, Alex Star. Welcome in.
Minneapolis, Delta 12, sir, 2103, ready for push.
Delta 2103, Minneapolis Center, push on to Alpha as approved.
Push on to Alpha, 2103.
Center, Delta 2254, lock Quebec right.
We are moving.
Delta 2254, runway 30 right, taxi via
Going
Quebec.
good. It's going good. We're heading to Toronto. Heading to Toronto. How's it going with you?
Whiskey Bravo, no traffic is servicing you in the Rhinelander Airport. Report your IFR cancellation or missed approach this frequency. Your radar services are terminated. Frequency change approved.
It's very foggy here.
Frequency change approved. Good day, 903 Whiskey Bravo.
Minneapolis Center, Sun Country, 725, ready to taxi 30 left.
Sun Country.
725, Minneapolis
All right, here we go.
Center, runway 30 left, taxi via Delta and Whiskey.
Delta Whiskey, 230 left, Sun Country 725, thank you.
Minneapolis, Tower 5796, Whiskey Bravo 370.
I'm doing great. I am doing great. Still a little tired from TwitchCon.
4657,
That's to be expected, right? Here we go. Yeah, I'm a little worn out still. Admittedly.
After the Sun Country
comes the V1
from your right to left on Delta, pushes approved.
That's our speed. Let's go.
After Sun Country pushes approved. Delta 2257, 2 left turns onto Alpha, join Delta the ramp today, cross runway 14, correction cross runway 4.
Alpha Delta the ramp cross 4, Delta 2257, thanks.
Sorry, join Papa and then Delta.
Papa then Delta 2257.
Runway 20, Lima airspace, Denver Center closed, frequency change approved. Southwest 5796, radar contact 40 miles west of the Omaha VOR, descend at top discretion, maintain 10,000.
We'll be staying up at this direction and we'll stay 120,000, so 576.
Delta 5796 Des Moines,
I can't see
altimeter
shit.
is 2980.
2980, from 5990.
Delta 1016 Heavy, clear direct to Green Bay.
Clear direct to Green Bay, Delta 1016.
Delta 703 Heavy, radar contacts, the altitude.
Passing 3.8 for Delta 703.
Delta 703, roger, climb and maintain flight level 3990, clear to direct S9, resume the departure.
Up to 390, direct S9, and resume the departure for Delta 703. 39er, S9, and that, and this. Beautiful. Let's see how it looks from the back.
Center Alpha 2254, ready to go 30 right.
But that view, I mean, it's just clouds.
Delta 2254,
Let's
fly
see,
heading
in general,
320,
how long do
runway
you
30
stream?
right, clear for takeoff.
Let's see. I stream 3 hours, 3 times a week. 3 hours, 3 times a week. Elements. What kind of elements? What kind of elements are we talking about?
Delta 10, descend via the Torgy 3 arrival, runway 30 left transition, the Minneapolis altimeter 2978.
Descend via the Torgy 3 shed, expect 30 left run, or approach, sorry, Delta 10.
Center 3826, back with you.
Walker 3826, roger.
Keep it like that.
Delta 1874, moderate to severe precipitation at your 12 o'clock, approximately 80 miles. Moving northeast bound, tops, believe, flight level 410.
Elements. Ooh.
No, Delta 1874.
Okay. There we go. You reminded me.
Minneapolis Center, Delta 1016.
Okay.
Delta 1016, go ahead.
Hey, I gotta hop off the game, Delta 1016.
Roger, see you later.
Simulator. Alright, we're at 10,000. Lights. We all tucked in the back. Good, looking good. We're strobing. Yes. Can confirm that we are strobing. So now what we do is we wait for 18, and in the meantime, we get this spooled up.
Look,
And Minneapolis Center, Southwest 2065, request taxi to runway 30 left.
Southwest 2065, runway 30 left, taxi via Delta Whiskey.
Delta Whiskey over 30 left, Southwest 2065.
That be where it's at?
Minneapolis Alex over 2103, ready for taxi.
Delta 2103, runway 30 left, taxi via Alpha.
30 via Alpha, did you say sorry, sir, Delta 2103?
Affirmative.
30 via Alpha 2103.
I don't want YouTube Studio. I want normal YouTube. Watch later.
2254, 3.5, climbing 7,320.
No, that's not it.
Delta 2254, radar contact, climb and maintain
They're like a recent?
17,000, Delta 2254.
Delta 2254, clear direct Homer, resume the departure.
Direct Homer, resume the departure.
Then we'll go over here. Ooh, yeah. Oh shit. Here we go. Would it be the Twitter? Yes. Okay. All right.
In there, then...
2254 Pirate from, you get a second? Go ahead.
So what's up?
The bases were 200 AGL, and the tops were 3,200 MSL. Next overcap.
Delta 2254, Roger, thank you.
You got it, we're on Microsoft.
Have a sense that helps us out, just drop that in the chat wherever you are watching.
All
For
right,
those of
let's
you who
learn.
are new to Cross the Pond, new to VATSIM,
Let's
new
learn.
to the event, I'll give you a little background on what it is that we're talking about here today. Cross the Pond is VATSIM's
Oh, right on,
largest
dude.
annual
Yeah,
event.
I'm
and I
good
think
for
this
now.
is one
I'm
of
straight,
the biggest
but-
Cross the Ponds that we've done since they kind of rejigged the event a little bit,
Right
made
on,
it
bro.
a bit more sustainable year on year. This year there are almost 1,400
Ooh, that's a
total
right
pilot
rock.
slots. There'll be way more than 200 controllers. And what
Delta
Cross the Pond
2103
is, for
flight
those who have never
I
seen
usually
it,
make most of my
left
shit
for takeoff.
like
the entirety of the flight.
you should redeem the meme of the day.
Across the ocean, all the way over to Europe and Africa.
You should redeem
with
meme of the
full
day.
ATC coverage all the way along the way. So you're always talking or in communication somehow with air traffic control. And that's something that really happens only twice a year during Cross the Pond eastbound and westbound. This year's event is eastbound, so we're starting in the Americas, heading across the ocean, landing over there in Europe and Africa. Now, for those of you who, again, are not too familiar with how this works, a couple of important points I just want to hit off as a bit of an introduction before we get started. Number one, you need to have a slot or a booking in order to participate in the
725,
oceanic
contact
portion
Minneapolis,
of this
departure
event. We've worked hard to make
135.47.
Across the Pond a sustainable event, by which I mean something we can do every year that isn't a crazy amount
Delta
of work for the
2103, you stay with me.
controllers
All
involved,
other
and that gives
aircraft
us
at
a
Minneapolis,
reasonable
monitor
level of
Minneapolis.
traffic.
Right on,
and
dude.
it's not
Yeah, Discord's right here, man.
And the Cross the Pond team has been able to do that with this slot booking system. So if you have a slot, you're good. You're able to fly across the ocean. If you don't have a slot, the date to remember is October 26th. That is the day during which all of the open or unclaimed slots become available on a first-come, first-served basis. And so if you watch today's session, you're like, gee, I really want to fly the event. I don't have a slot. Where do I go? The answer is the Cross the Pond website. So ctp.vatsim.net. You'll see that website come up again. That's where you'll go on October 26th. People to do that first-come, first-served slot booking process. Now, if you don't get a slot, the one thing that the network is asking for this one period of time throughout the year is to please avoid flying across the Atlantic. You can fly anywhere else on the network. You can fly domestic flights. You can leave or arrive from any of the event airports. There's no restrictions on any of that. It is simply a matter of please don't fly across the Atlantic Ocean unless you have one of those 1337 slots that are set up for that purpose. I also want to point out that the Cross the Pond event is organized by a very small team of very dedicated volunteers. There's a group of people who work behind the scenes. They've been doing this for several months already, organizing those routes that you can see on the screen with me here, organizing the local VACCs that participate, putting the slots together, making this event a possibility. So I always want to recognize the work that they do, answering your questions, and really making this event a possibility. I also want to cover one of the important points that people often ask, what airplane should I fly from?
Let's take a look.
People wonder, should I fly the Concorde? Should I fly maybe an older airplane that doesn't have nav capability? And here's the answer. We really want this event to be a success for everybody. We're trying to move 1,400 airplanes across the ocean in a short amount of time. And to do that, we really need pilots to work as a team with us, the air traffic controllers, and the network to make things possible. So we're asking you to fly a modern jetliner, think a 767, think an A330, think an A350, a 787, that kind of thing that has navigation capability, that can cross the ocean, can do RNAV SIDS and stars. If you have updated navigation data, that's even better. We're asking you not to fly across the ocean in something like the Concorde, in something that doesn't meet modern standards, especially the Concorde. I use that example because the airplane flies 2 or 3 times faster than everyone else is doing. So if you want to fly the Concorde, you're going to get there, and there won't be any controllers there because they're not set up to be there at the time that your aircraft will get there. So if you work with the network and work with the crowd and fly an airplane that is designed really for transatlantic crossings in the modern day, that is the right airplane to fly. And if you do pick anything else, it will make things a little bit more difficult
on your
for all of us, and that's
mower.
why we ask you not to do that. Bring up a couple of friends on the screen here. Everyone we'll be joined with just a moment here by the two presenters who will be on the screen with us for the duration of today's session. So let me introduce to you, first of all, Rob Sherman Jr. Rob, how you doing?
52 is pushing the
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me back.
I'm good. Yeah, I know. I didn't have much of a choice. Yes, I'm happy to have you back. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this again. For those
I'm a
who
package
don't know,
deal. I come with the event.
those who don't know, Rob hosts the Slant Alpha Adventures, an S3 controller in the Washington RTAC, and a long-time network pilot,
Rob.
plenty of experience flying across.
Met Rob.
And as Rob mentions, plenty of experience doing this briefing. I think he's been here for all of them, so he's got plenty to share on how things will work for the departure portion off of the North Americas, and then
Dude, that would be
South
sick.
America, because there's two Americas.
If you had,
and I'll introduce as well Simon. Simon, how are you?
If you have one of those auto mowers.
Yes, and Simon is the Vice
robot
President
mowers?
of Pilot Training at VATSIM, and in that role,
And hook it
basically,
up there?
he's working on exactly what we're doing today, trying to bridge this gap between pilots and air traffic controllers to share knowledge between the different groups and to give people a better understanding of just how everything works behind the scenes and how controllers and pilots
I was just worried
can
about
work
this
together
aircraft.
to really
I want to make sure that this
achieve
plane's ready.
move traffic through very efficiently. And me, I'm Evan. I'm the co-founder of Flight Simulation Association. We're hosting today's presentation and co-streaming it along with the Pilot Club, the Sky Blue Radio, Slant Alpha Adventures, and of course VATSIM. So very grateful to all of those organizations for helping us spread the word and share important educational information.
Dude, anybody doing any Halloween movie marathons
today,
or anything?
Basically give everyone
Monthly,
a better understanding of how
anybody do anything? Goosebumps is on Apple TV.
Then going across the ocean,
throwback.
and finally tips
And
and
Are You
landing
Afraid of
in
the Dark?
Europe and Africa. Obviously, as you move across countries, especially from
Now,
the United States,
are they going to
so
seem childish
Europe,
when I watch them
things
this time? I don't know.
differ greatly. And
Maybe.
so we're really
We'll see.
trying to highlight some of those
But I'm going to check it
differences
out.
for pilots who may only fly in oceanic or European or U.S. airspace this one time a year during Cross the Pond. It'll be helpful too if you don't fly regularly on the network. These are just great general tips for you to learn a bit more about how network flying works. But we have designed today's session for the reasonably experienced VATSIM jetliner pilots. So not your first flight on the network. That's not to say you can't do your first flight on the network.
We're in
on
Minneapolis,
October 28th
actually,
when Cross the
Dan.
Pond happens. Just don't do it at one of the Cross the Pond airports. I always love to say, there'll be some controller somewhere in western United States who's nothing to do with Cross the Pond, who's on at 9 o'clock on Saturday, and they've got no airplanes whatsoever. So that would be a great place to go if you don't have a slot, if you're new to the network, you want to get on the experience and just be part of the event. That's a great place to be. The place to not be would be one of the event airports trying to do VFR close
I'm getting 54 frames a second. That's insane.
And, obviously that's just not something that we can
What?
I do want to highlight as well the pilot briefing. So for everybody who has a slot here across the pond, your pilot briefing document will have everything that you need to know. We're covering general information across
let me see what it says inside.
area from as far
Or
north as
outside.
Canada down to South America. And
41, 46, 37, 39, 47. That's actually pretty good. 56.
That's in the cross the pond.
That's pretty good.
So once you get your route, as part of that, you'll have access to the pilot dashboard.
40, 30 in the cockpit.
You can download a briefing from Oceanic.
That's not bad.
And that has all the official information in it. So we're giving you the general,
That's surprising. I can't believe I fixed those settings.
That's where the specifics are, and make sure you have a good look if you have a slot and you're participating in crossing the pond. Now, if you have questions, we love questions. We'd love to hear from the audience. Gets things a little bit interactive, so please do share those questions with us. You can drop them in the FSA chat on Discord. You can drop them in the Cross the Pond
if we can do an ILS
Discord.
for whatever
I'm just going to go there
runway
right
is
now.
favorable.
There's a
I'll
pilot
get back to you in a
briefing
second.
Q&A
I've met
channel.
Evan too.
Questions in there. If you're watching on Twitch, on YouTube, just drop them wherever you are. I'll be keeping an eye on those chats, making sure that everything is going well and taking all of those questions. We're going to answer those at the end, so we're going to, as soon as I pass things on to Rob and Simon here, they got about 45-50 minutes or so of content. Once they're done, I'll be back with you and we'll cover off all of those questions. Like I say, we're structured today in phase of flight, so we're starting with departure, we'll go across the ocean, and then we'll finish off with the arrival into Europe, some tips and tricks, and then jumping into the Q&A. And of course, the big disclaimer, it's going to flash on the screen a couple times, this is not for remote navigation. So we are not telling you 45 minutes how to fly a 777 in real life.
Not for real world navigation.
Right? Like, we're not doing that. We are here to talk about VATSIM, we're here to talk about flight simulation, so nothing that we're saying is at all appropriate for real world use. And with that in mind, let me hand things off to Rob, and we'll start with the departure procedures out of the Americas. So Rob,
All right, well, thank you again for having me back for, yes, this is indeed the 4th time for this presentation. I thought for sure you'd all be sick of me by now, but but here I am. All right, so yes, we're going to start about departures, and that means I get to lead off here. So we're going to talk from the moment you load into your sim all the way up to cruise altitude.
Hell yeah.
We'll be covering your initial clearance.
Okay.
We'll give you a reminder about your top altitude or your initial level off altitude.
Yeah, look at that
We'll talk
moon.
about how to prepare to fly that departure procedure.
Can you see it yet?
Pushback and taxi preparation,
Hold on,
and we'll go over some differences in the climb instructions that you might hear depending on where you're departing from. All right, now the title of this slide, requesting clearance, a little deceiving. In the U.S. and Canada, it's pretty likely that you won't need to request your clearance. Most likely, it's going to come to you automatically not long after you connect. It's what's called a PDC, or a pre-departure clearance. It comes as in a text form, and
that's a shot right there.
Private message in your pilot client. So it's going to open up in its own separate tab in vPilot or xPilot or Swift. The format is going to vary slightly, possibly from one facility to another, but the basic format's going to look like what you see on your screen here.
Yeah, which is what we had here.
A couple of notes. We see this expression climb via SID. We're going to come back to that in a few slides. Note here where it says squawk 1341. In some PDCs, they'll list that as the beacon code. So you'll see beacon 1341 means the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Another note is that this PDC does not specify an expected departure runway. Some may, this one doesn't. We're going to cover
ours did not.
That issue in a moment.
It did.
And finally, note that it tells you who to contact next. That is very, very important. So generally speaking,
and ours did.
You don't need to read this PDC back over the air. Entering your squawk code and activating mode Charlie in your transponder is basically acting as your acknowledgement of that PDC.
Exactly.
And one really important tip, I recommend that you don't close that tab in your pilot
I keep mine up for the whole session.
You can't possibly lose it.
I keep all of mine. Look at all these
done with it.
Tabs.
And finally, I'll note that if you are sitting there connected for 10 minutes or more and you haven't received your PDC at that point, it's probably appropriate to go ahead and check in on the delivery frequency and make sure they haven't overlooked you.
Yeah.
All right, remember how we mentioned that some PDCs don't mention an expected departure runway. Well, what do you do about that?
You go to ATIS.
Well, here's the next step that might help you, because the next thing that you're going to want to do is retrieve the ATIS information for your departure airport.
Boom.
Now, a lot of times getting it by voice doesn't always work, so I recommend you just double-click the station name in the ATC list. Should pop right up. Notice in this example, the ATIS indicates departing runway 22 right. So at this particular airport,
departing
all
runway
departures are getting
30
the
left.
same runway. Well, that makes life very easy for you as the pilot. In other cases, Atlanta being a key one, they may be using
the only thing that I'm unfitier with is the oceanic start, like the oceanic shit. Like when we're finally
so you got a 50-50
over the
shot. The
you know what I
ATIS
mean?
might give you an idea, but you still might not know
That's what
exactly
I'm worried about.
which one. Key thing to keep in mind: if there's a vital piece of information that they haven't given you, it's probably not a mistake. They've done this before.
True.
So it's most likely that it's simply not this person's job to assign that piece of information. So asking your delivery controller for a runway just might be wasted time. You're going to get that information from a ramp controller or a ground controller, so just be patient, put in your best guess into the FMC, be ready to adapt it to the other one if you don't get the one you expected. But yeah, it's going to end up being a wasted time on frequency.
They'll be online by the time we get there.
Runway and
They will absolutely be online by the time we get there.
All right, moving on, let's talk top altitudes.
Top altitudes.
Remember, on a SID, a standard instrument departure procedure, it's more than just a string of waypoints. It's a bunch of instructions too, and one of them is an initial level off altitude, which they call a top altitude. So first of all, it means that programming the FMC is only part of the job. You actually need to be looking at the charts for all of the procedures that you're going to be flying. In this example, the SID includes an instruction to maintain 5,000 after departure. So that's planes that are departing Boston don't hit planes that are arriving.
Well, granted, we were given 7,000.
So that instruction is very, very important. Even if your PDC or voice clearance didn't include a specific instruction to maintain 5,000, your SID does. Okay, if you got cleared on the Lobster 7, you filed that, you got cleared on it, you've agreed to do it.
Right.
So then that includes that 5,000. You agreed to follow that instruction. They don't have to say it to you again. It's redundant. You've already agreed to it.
Correct.
By virtue of being cleared and acknowledging this SID.
Yep.
Minneapolis Center, good evening.
Another very important tip, read all of the notes on that SID. There's some really fun gotchas
right here
in the notes on some SIDs. O'Hare's like
this one's tough
for that.
Minneapolis
and your
is
FMC
weird.
might not follow those instructions by default, so you gotta read through
it's a turn.
all the notes on that SID. You can't just put the procedure in the FMC and expect your job there is done. One important distinction is that some SIDs are pilot nav, which we also call RNAV off the ground.
Ours was not.
Your SID tells you how to join the route starting the instant you leave the runway.
Ours was not.
Other SIDs, though, you're going to fly a certain heading or make a certain turn, and then you're going to wait for vectors to join your route. You need to know which type of SID yours is. One thing that's not typically on the chart in the Western Hemisphere, at least, is that there's a pretty universal speed limit, 250 knots. Until you climb past 10,000 feet in sea level. For a very heavy aircraft with heavy loads, you might need a little faster. It's called minimum clean speed. I think that this is a little bit deceiving. I think technically if you maintain 250 or your aircraft's minimum clean speed, you're not required to tell ATC, but if that minimum clean speed is higher, it's probably nice to let them know.
Primaires
for their planning purposes. One key difference between North American SIDs versus SIDs elsewhere is that most North American SIDs contain a number of different paths depending on which departure runway you've been assigned. Outside of North America, that's different. You typically would just get a whole different version of the SID that's geared toward each departure runway.
Yeah, see, this one's
over on our side, we have one procedure typically that
12 right, 12 left.
So when we review
17,
the SID,
30 left, 30
that
right.
we check it against the legs page to make sure that the points are correct based on which runway you have selected. So while you're doing that, you want to compare the altitude and speed
kind of bum we couldn't do that
what's in the box.
manual turn
What's in the box? What's in the box? So here's boat at 4,250 knots.
Simon looks like he's got a nice house
points along the way, and the associated altitude and speed restrictions imported correctly. So
I think we understand the SIDs.
It's not also a bad idea to flip over to that plan view too. And this is more like a visual check. The shape of the route, that kind of that J-shaped route, is the same as the J-shaped route in your FMC. So this is looking pretty good.
How do I get the window?
Before we flip to the next page, one more thing to point out is this is the Highland SID out of Boston. This is a pilot nav or RNAV off the ground one. So let's compare that now to this one. This is the Jacoby out of Dulles. Now Dulles is not a departure field this time around across the pond, but this type of departure exists all over. We had this slide in from last time, and it illustrates the point pretty well, so we left it there. Note here that there's not a depicted path from the runway to the first point of Riggins. This is what we call a hybrid SID. It does have a depicted path on it, but it doesn't tell you how to join that path. How you join that path is actually up to the controller. And if we were to look up the text description here, it will literally say for vectors to Riggins. So the controller is going to tell you how and when to get to that point. Riggins. Don't just turn off.
All right, I think we know all
and
this.
turn toward Riggins. Toronto, Halifax, and Gander. The interesting thing is, if there were speed restrictions around you, doesn't
are going to be able to do that.
To do a step climb for better fuel efficiency, or later on your FMC is going to tell you it's
cruising
time to start descending. You may not in any way, shape, or form do any of those things without clearance to do so by air traffic control. That little box in your, by your right hip doesn't know what the traffic situation is around you, doesn't know whether it's safe to climb or descend from where you are now. So you got to make sure you've requested any altitude changes and make sure that you've been approved to make those altitude changes by the controller, and also understand that there might be times that they cannot approve it for traffic reasons. All right, Simon, I'm going to turn things over to you here.
All right, Simon.
Please welcome back to the Mike Vatsim's Vice President of Pilot Training, Simon Kelsey. Simon, your airplane, my friend.
Thanks ever so much, Rob. I have control, and this is my first time doing this, so I know Rob and Evan hopefully will see me through and look after me all the way through. So in this section of the presentation, we're going to take a look at some of the oceanic facilities that are involved in cross the pond that you might be speaking to, how we're going to enter oceanic airspace, and some oceanic operations and best practices for making sure you stay on track
I like it.
crossing the pond. We'll also look over the other side of the pond as well and what we're going to do there. So here's a quick glance over some of the facilities involved, and as you can see, it is pretty blooming big this year. Our biggest cross the pond ever, I think, I'm right in saying. Every facility involved, from Reykjavik in the north all the way down to Johannesburg Oceanic in the south. So really great to see all of those facilities involved. Basically every facility that's involved across the Atlantic at all points. So really fantastic.
That's crazy.
Now, before we get into oceanic operations properly, as it were, a little word about oceanic routes, because they might look a little bit different to what you might be used to if you're used to flying domestically. So I'll put an example up here. This is a pretty typical looking route that you might see on the North Atlantic. So there's no airways. We've got an entry point here, which is OMSAT, where we're going to enter the oceanic airspace. We've got a whole bunch of coordinates. And then on the other end, we have an exit point, Adara. And the question is, how are we going to put that into our navigation system, into our FMS? Because we don't often see these. They do occasionally pop up into a domestic route from time to time, but we don't see them very often. And the answer is, it will vary depending on what sort of FMS, what equipment you have. There's a couple of ways. There is a long form way, which enables you to put basically any coordinate into your FMS anywhere in the world. Depending on your aircraft type will depend on how you are going to be able to do that. There's some examples there for Boeing and Airbus. Have a look up for your aircraft type. Or alternatively, there's a short form, which is basically a database waypoint. So just as your navigation database contains points such as OMSAT, for example, or Adara, and associates those with a set of coordinates. Likewise, there are a set of short form waypoints which are associated with these common latitude and longitude points that you might see on oceanic operations. And the format that this works in is up on the screen now. So you'll see essentially we've got a combination of letters and the cardinal point, and where we put this letter, in this case N for depends on where in the which hemisphere the point appears in. So for example, 47 north, 50 degrees west, we would enter as 4750 November, as in this format here. So nice and straightforward. But do beware, because as you will notice if you're astute from looking at this little graphic, entering the wrong letter or entering the letter in the wrong place is going to completely change the location of the waypoint that you have entered. So for example, let's say we're trying to enter 47 degrees north, 50 degrees west, and we think, how are we going to put it? I knew it's something like it's 47, 50 degrees west. Okay, we'll put that in. And that's going to create a point that is not somewhere up here as we were intended, but in fact at south 47 degrees, west 50. And the same is true if we put the letter in the wrong place or something like that. So it is very well worth doing a quick gross error check, making sure that you've got that those points in correctly if you are entering them manually.
Yeah, why does my route say it's 8,000 miles? It's only supposed to be 4,000 miles.
Exactly that. Yeah. So a gross error check against your FMS and against what you've got in your flight plan is a
insufficient fuel. I'll be fine.
Yeah. Why is that? And here's an example of what that route would look like in the entered into the FMS. This is an Airbus example here, so you can see our entry point there is OMSAT, and then we've got 4750, 5040, etc. So if you're used to flying domestically, oceanic flying might feel a little bit daunting, but don't worry, because I'm going to break it down for you. And basically, we're going to cross the Atlantic in 3 easy steps. Firstly, we're going to obtain an oceanic clearance if we need to, and actually we don't necessarily always need to, bit of a common misconception, so we'll get onto that in a bit. Secondly, we're going to organise communications with an oceanic area control centre and continue to do so as we cross multiple ones of those.
Ooh, we could go to Dulles.
And finally, we're going to fly our clearance whilst maintaining communications, and the key bit there is flying our clearance, because it's not necessarily what we might have filed.
You'll turn and burn.
We fly what we're cleared for. So you've probably heard about the concept of an oceanic clearance before. It's something that's separate to your airways clearance that you would have got on the ground at your departure airfield in that PDC that Rob was talking about earlier on. So when do we need an oceanic clearance? And the answer is it's only before we enter what's called the NAT, North Atlantic High Level Airspace, which for our purposes, for across the pond, is Shanwick, Gander and Reykjavik. Basically, every other facility, your clearance will be coordinated in the background. So if you're entering via New York or one of the other oceanic area control centers, you don't actually need to get a specific clearance yourself. It will all have been done for you in the background. But if you are entering via Gander or Reykjavik, as we're going eastbound this year, then you would need to obtain a clearance, and we'll talk about how to do that now. Why do we need to get a clearance? Well, it's because fundamentally we're going to an environment with very little radar, with limited communications facilities, and so the concept is that we need to organise everybody at the start and provide them with separation all the way across. Your oceanic clearance will cover all the oceanic FIRs or facilities that you're going to pass through. You only need to get one before you enter the first oceanic control centre. And basically 3 quick steps to get the clearance. Firstly, we're going to get the information we need together, we're going to request our clearance, and finally we're going to receive our clearance.
We have seen, we currently
prior preparation prevents poor performance, so make sure you get everything that you need together, which is good airmanship in general. Just make good use of time. Try and make the best use of time you can to ensure you get everything prepared, everything in the right order, easily to handle, that sort of thing. And this is what we're going to need. So we're going to need our route, obviously, our assigned track, which will be
the Microsoft Flight Simulator, Minneapolis.
Estimated
is it good?
At the oceanic
flight beam.
Point. That's our first
so it's got to be good.
The level that we're requesting for the oceanic crossing.
Yeah, the frame rate was phenomenal for the Delta 2254, and like the lights and attention to detail, all that stuff. I don't go flying around the airport and stuff, just looking at stuff via the drone camera, but I mean, from what I can see, just from taxiing
you can
to the
achieve at the
runway and
entry
stuff.
point, right? Every plan on paper is great, but no plan survives first contact with the enemy, right? So occasionally things might need to be a bit flexible. What was put down on paper may need to be amended. So by providing ATC with that maximum level that you can achieve at the entry point, it gives them that ability. The speed you want to cross and the TMI, the track message identifier, which should be provided with your briefing pack, and it's basically just a code so that ATC know that when you talk about track alpha, you're talking about the same track alpha, for example, that they are.
What do we got here?
A couple of points about this, really important that we...
Actually, you know what? Minneapolis Center, Delta 703 with a request.
Go ahead.
Any chance we could pop it up to 400?
Delta 703, roger, climb maintain flight level 400.
Climb maintain 400, really appreciate it, Delta 703. Alright, let's pop it up and see what speed, what's the max speed at 40.
Go 39er Papa X-ray, squawk 7032. 7032, 39 Papa X-ray. American 2906, Minneapolis Center, yacht frequency.
There she goes. Now she's moving. Now she's moving. All right, I want to see what the maximum is. I think it's, what, 8.5? 8.5? I want to write this down. We need to know this.
Minneapolis Center, good evening, American 2906, flight level 340.
We need to know this.
Killer 32.
American 2906, Minneapolis Center, squawk 4242.
What happened to our climb?
4242, 26.
Speed at 40,000. Can we even get it to 8.6? I think we gotta be like 8.5, right? Okay, there's 40,000.
Gambit Jet 371, cross Ollie, you had to maintain 7,000. The Minneapolis altimeter 2978.
We're stress testing the vehicle.
Maintain 7,000, Gambit Jet 371. American 2906, radar contact 25 miles north of the Dells VOR. Descend via the Killer 3 arrival, runway 30 left transition. The
Okay, let's see if we can get back to that speed. So here we are at 40,000.
330 left transition, 2907.
It's increasing. Let's see what we can get here.
Delta 2254, Winnipeg Center closed, frequency change of first today.
228, Delta 2254, congrats, and have fun, and we'll talk soon, hopefully.
Thank you, see you later.
Minneapolis Center, American 512, 0346 or 7340.
American 512, Minneapolis Center, good evening.
Can we get to 8.86? It's slow, but it's moving.
American 2906,
it's very slow.
Moderate to severe precipitation from your 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock position, approximately 10 miles ahead, tops to flight level 290.
Hey, Tab. Really? Oh, I'm done with it.
512,
like a little upper sinus congestion, but that's about it.
To about your 2 o'clock position, 20 miles ahead, tops to
The
flight level
super
290.
antibodies. So, I had a cold like a month ago, so maybe that helped out. Boost me. Fresh booster. Yeah. We got tiger's blood. Tiger blood. Alright, so here's what we're doing. We're stress testing the aircraft. And we're trying to see what the maximum capabilities are because we have to know what our maximum level and speed are for oceanic crossing. We're at 40,000 feet. I've set it at Mach 8.6. I'm gonna see if we can get up there. We're at 8.4. I think, and it's just so slow, right? I mean, as we burn more fuel, but even then, it's like max speed. I'm gonna say max available speed is gonna be 8.4, right? At this altitude.
American 512, descend via the Killer 3 arrival, runway 30 left transition, Minneapolis altimeter 278.
It's just sitting right there at 8.4.
I was talking about the Killer 3 arrival, expect ILS 30 left, American 512.
It's not budging past 8.4. Okay, Mach 8.4. 0.84. Okay, that's important. That's very important. We got a big event coming up this Saturday. We don't want to fuck around with it.
You get the correct time. So if you, unless you really love maths, right? I don't really love maths. Rob,
I don't love the maths either.
You may feel slightly differently, but it's
I do all those calculations.
Yeah, max level and speed.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Because we need to know that for
unless
this.
you really want to be sat there kind of totting up time, thinking, oh, do you know what? Well, the real time now is this, and I've just got my sim set to that. So actually, you know, sim says it's going to be that time, but actually it's going to be that time in real time.
Oh, what's this?
Then as filed, maintain dips, screen went blank, stand by.
What is that screen?
So the 3747, clear to the Minneapolis Airport, Red Director Shea, it's filed, maintain 5 downs, expect flight level 3205 in this after departure.
Where's that at? Oh, that's in the progress? Cruise.
That's
four.
Directors to Shea, and then as filed, 5,000, expect flight level 320, 5 minutes after it. Frequency is with you, 5253 in the box.
Delta 3747, read back.
Oh, that's the max, is 4,800. Or 40,800. Okay, okay. We learned something here. Cruise managed 8-2.
Minneapolis bound aircraft. ATIS is Juliet and Tango now. Current altimeter is 2978 in Minneapolis.
Center Southwest 2087, flight level 340.
Southwest 2087, Minneapolis Center, good evening. Descend via the Killer 3 arrival, runway 30 left transition, the Minneapolis altimeter is 2978.
Turn descend via the Killer 3 arrival and Luxembourg 30 left, Southwest 2087.
Oh, that's the...
Just set your sim to real time. It's going to make your life a whole lot easier. And real time is really what ATC are going to be
what's he going to say with this? That's what I want to know.
No, how are we going to get out clearance? Well, in with the enemy, unless the TMI, the track ATC.
What about 5?
I do all those calculations.
What about 5?
So I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
What's
Exactly.
5?
So unless you really want to be sat there kind of totting up time,
okay, so we're already up here.
You know what? Well, the real time now is this, and I've just got
and then
the
once
sim
you
set
get to cruise,
that. So actually, sim says it's going to be that time, but actually it's going to be that time in real time.
Wait,
just set your sim to real time. It's going to make your life a whole lot.
All right, we're gonna have to look that over
and
again.
Real time is really what
we're gonna have to look that over again when we take off again.
How are we going to get out clearance? Well, in real life, we generally send it over CPDLC. More on that to come, friends. And the way we do that,
dude, I took some
is we use a system
emergency
called NatTrack, so
like, you know,
we don't have to clog the radio
really
up
help me
with
out.
a voice clearance and sit there transcribing it, all that sort of stuff. We need to request a clearance 30 to 45 minutes before we enter Gander or Reykjavik. This is slightly different to real life, but it's a request from the Cross the Pond team, basically, to make sure that those ETAs are as accurate as they possibly can be. And if you're departing from an airfield which is less than 30 minutes from oceanic airspace, basically you need to request your clearance as soon as you possibly can once you're airborne and you've got a sensible ETA for that
Minneapolis Center
entry
got really
point.
quiet.
The link's on the slide there, and I'm sure Evan will put it up in the comments, or there'll be somewhere you can click on it as well. Here's the form. I won't go through it in vast detail. You'll only see the full form if you're logged into the network as a pilot. Some of the information on here will be pre-filled for you based on your flight plan and your connection details.
Where is that?
The rest of it you'll have to fill in yourself. Just take your time over it. Make sure that what you put in is accurate, because if you realize you've made a mistake once you've sent it off, it becomes a real faff to try and go back and send another one off. It gets confusing.
Yeah.
Once we've sent our clearance off, this is what we're going to get back, and we can see it's actually really handy because we've got our clearance that we requested down at the bottom here, and then this is our message that we've got back from ATC. It'll take a little while to process, maybe a couple, 3, 4, 5 minutes, something like that. And you can see that a couple of things to highlight are that you'll see a couple of these lines have got a / in front of them.
Oh, they've been changed.
And these are to highlight some things have changed from what we request. So, for example, we've been given a restriction to cross our entry point, Porty. That's after 1423, so we need to think about how we amend our speed for that. We've got a change to the speed for the crossing that we requested. So we requested Mach decimal 8.2. We've actually been cleared at Mach decimal 8.1. And our flight level for the crossing has been changed as well. Okay. Important to note that this is not a clearance to change your level and speed and stuff like that right now. When you're still talking to a domestic controller, you need to liaise with the controller that you're speaking to, the domestic controller, to obtain the level changes or speed changes that you need in order to be at the entry point at that level and speed. And if you do have an issue with NatTrack, if you've sent your clearance off, you haven't had anything back after, I don't know, 10 minutes, something like that, 10, 15 minutes, then do be a little bit patient, but you can always speak to your current domestic controller who will be able to do a bit of coordination for you in the background.
True.
On the subject of clearances, and we mentioned fly your clearance earlier on, good moment to have a chat about route checking, and this is something which is really important in real life and is really important for us as well on Cross the Pond Day, because as you can imagine, really busy day.
Cleveland Center 118.119.87.
And here's a stat for you.
1987 for you, Delta 703, thanks.
38 gross navigation errors. And this is when an aircraft is off track by 10 nautical miles or more, which is quite a long way.
1987.
I only did 36 of those. I don't know who the other two were.
Yeah. So it's something which the professionals can absolutely get wrong. So if the professionals can get it wrong, we should.
Let's check in. Cleveland Center, good evening. Delta 703 Heavy. We're at flight level 400.
Delta 703, Cleveland Center, Roger. Mustang 4, runway 6 right.
Slate it.
Via Alpha.
Slate it. Be right back.
I'm sorry, aircraft calling Cleveland, see ya.
It's about 6189 for the book. Yeah.
Shuttle 6189, Cleveland Center, Roger.
Cleveland. Cleveland.
Can if we're not careful and we're not vigilant about it. So once you've received your clearance, do take your time to make sure you check it against your flight plan and what's entered into your flight management system. And I'm going to give you a real world procedure, a tip that is used, procedure that's taught to pilots in real life to do that. So our first step would be to check your clearance that you've received in your NatTrack message, or your message from the NatTrack system there, against the flight management system. So you're going to check the entry point matches up, each waypoint matches up, and the exit point matches up, and check your flight level and Mach number. If you can amend that in the FMS so it's there, great, and that'll help give you better predictions as well. Once you've done that, you can then check the FMS against your operational flight plan, your computer flight plan navigation log that you get out of SimBrief or something like that. Now, I know obviously we're not necessarily going to print the flight plan off for every flight we do in the sim, but if you're going to do it, I'd suggest Cross the Pond Day is a great day to do it. It's a really useful thing to have to hand, to be able to reference and look ahead, scribble things down on. And once we've checked each waypoint so that each waypoint in our oceanic segment, once we've checked the FMS and checked it there on the flight plan, we're just going to put a little circle next to it like that, and you'll find more about that.
Proceed on course, runway 6 right, cleared for takeoff.
So we've got our clearance. We're now about to enter oceanic airspace. So we need to organize communications with the Oceanic Area Control Center. And the way we're going to do that is fundamentally, we're going to do a cell call check. And we'll talk in more depth about cell call and what it is in a moment if you're feeling blank, but just stick with me for now. And this is how we're going to do it. So my glamorous assistant is going to play the part
is going to do his best to channel Gary on this. So
absolutely.
Gander Radio, Speedbird 47 Charlie. Sandwich next, requesting self-cal check on Bravo Papa Charlie Hotel.
Gary's going to love that. And so there's our request, and ATC are going to respond something like, Speedbird 47 Charlie, Gander Radio, stand by for cell call check. Now, what do we do when we're told to stand by? Say nothing. Right, we just keep quiet, because responding, yep, standing by is not what we're expected to do. It's going to get in
Red 5, standing by.
Yeah. Hopefully what's going to happen now is ATC are going to send a cell call message out over the frequency, and your pilot client is going to detect that, and it's going to ping and flash up in your vPilot client, right? And when you do so, you're going to respond.
Cell cal received or cell cal check okay, whatever. Acknowledge
exactly. And once we've got that, if you wish, now you've done that, you have established communications, and that's it. You are checked in. All you need to do now, if you want to, you can turn the radio volume down. Notice I've said down, not off, or tune to a different frequency. Don't do that. Stay on the frequency, but you can turn the headset down if you want to, or take your headphones off, or whatever it might be. Obviously, though, if you do receive a cell call alert later on, you have to put your headphones back on and respond to ATC, and we're not going to switch frequencies away. And we'll find out why in a moment.
We'll be back in 5 minutes.
One other thing. So a couple of other things, actually. So every time we switch frequencies, so if we get handed off to a new Oceanic Area Control Center, then we need to conduct a new cell call check because we've changed frequencies. It's changed, so we need to make sure that it still works on the new frequency. And also, it needs to squawk 2,000 10 minutes after we enter oceanic airspace. This is a new thing. It's changed. It used to be 30 minutes. It's now 10.
And I've forgotten that every time. Anyway.
Yeah, easily done. We talked about cell call a little bit there. If you're looking at me blankly and thinking, what is this cell call thing that you're on about? Basically, it stands for selective calling, and it's a system that allows ATC to alert an aircraft that they want to talk to them. Why would they want to do that, you ask? Well, have a listen to this.
What are you doing now, dude?
Well, that sounds pretty horrible, doesn't it? And that is a recording of real-world Gander radio. And you can hear it's all horrible hiss and crackle, and that is what it sounds like because of the high-frequency radio that is used for those long-range communications. So long-range, but the quality is awful, like your crackly AM radio. And as you can imagine, it'd be pretty fatiguing to listen to for 4.5, 5 hours across the Atlantic. So the system works basically, each aircraft has a 4-letter code. It's not unique. There's only a limited number of these codes, so they do get reused amongst aircraft when in real life they try to assign them to aircraft that are unlikely to be in the same bit of airspace, but it doesn't always, it's not always the case. And that 4-letter code, each of those groups is associated with a tone. You heard some actually in that transmission that I played for you. And when your radio system detects the tones that's associated with your code, you'll see here it is in the pilot client. So when you connect to the client, make sure you put your cell call code in there. Then the radio alerts the crew, basically. So if the cell call system's working, you can completely turn the radio down, and if ATC want to contact you, they'll send you a cell call. Obviously, again, you have to remain tuned to the frequency. The tones get sent over the frequency. If you're tuned to a different frequency, it's not going to work, and you're going to get some unwanted attention from some fighter jets or something like that in real life. Really important cross the pond note. You must use the cell call code that is provided in your booking. So not the code that's associated with the airframe that you're flying in real life, for example, but the one that's been provided to you in your booking.
Cleveland Center, Delta 703 requesting
so that everything matches up there. Make sure you put it...
maintain flight 310.
Descend maintain 310, Delta 703.
Cleveland Center, Delta 1526.
Delta 1526, Cleveland.
Looking at the current ATIS, you have the 2-1s and 2-2s for the runways. You sent me 3. Do you want me to use the 2-2s and 2-1s?
14 Charlie Yankee return. On the left base for runway 19 at Accra. Request full stop.
For 4 Charlie Yankee, runway 19, cleared to land.
Runway 19, cleared to land, Caravan 4 Charlie Yankee.
Into Delta 1526, expect runway 21 right. Let me know when you're ready to taxi.
Looks like 21 right, well advised. 1526.
We kinda,
Cleveland Center, hello, November 240.
had a little malfunction there.
Flight level 220 for 230 out of Toronto.
November 240, Sierra Bravo, Cleveland Center, climb and maintain flight level 410.
I get up to flight level 410, and there's not a minimum going into Boston Center, is there, altitude?
Negative.
Roger, up to flight 410, 240 Bravo.
In your cell call code box on your pilot
Cleveland Center,
plan.
Delta 1526, ready to taxi runway 21 right.
And finally, as far as Oceanic's concerned, we need to, once we've organised communications, we've entered the Oceanic airspace, we now need to fly our clearance and maintain communications. So what are we going to do as we're coming up to a waypoint in Oceanic airspace? We could be snoozing with our feet up, but reading the crossword, Rob,
twist or whatever, yeah.
Exactly. But remember those stats about gross navigation errors, right? So don't let it happen to you. Take your time just to be a little bit disciplined about making sure that everything's working. So this is what crews would be doing in real life when they're coming up to a waypoint. A couple of minutes before, so let's say we're coming up on 52 north, 40 west here. We would make sure that our next waypoint is correct. Make sure that it's the next thing in the FMS. It's on the nav display. The magenta line's heading off in the right direction. All that kind of good stuff. And once we've done that, we're going to put a little slash through the circle we drew earlier next to that next waypoint.
I like it.
To verify that we've checked that. And then once we pass the waypoint, we're going to sit up, pay attention, make sure that the waypoints sequence correctly so that 50 north, 50 west becomes active. The aircraft turns towards, starts tracking towards that waypoint. We might want to note down our time overhead, 52 north, 40 west, and update our estimated time of arrival at the next point, and note those down on our flight plan. And then we're going to put a second slash through our circle there to confirm that we've completed our kind of waypoint crossing procedures. We don't need to do position reports anymore. Those are not required. ATC have got more modern ways of downlinking our position essentially these days. So once we've done that, we're happy the aircraft's tracking towards the next waypoint. Great, you can put your feet up. I'll go back to my crossword. Rob will put Taylor Swift back on, and away you go for another 35, 40 minutes or so. So that's the Oceanic side of things, and we're going to move on now to what we do once we get over to the other side of the pond, to ICAO and European operations. So we're going to have a little chat about CPDLC, about how stars work, and some descent and approach procedures and tips. Now, I'm aware that Rob and I are delivering a whole load of information really quickly, and in fact, I should be delivering it a bit quicker than I am probably. So if you only remember 3 things from today's session, here are the things I want you to take away. Firstly, double check the procedures that you've got loaded, because if you're used to flying in North America, where everything's pretty much set in stone, over this side of the pond, it's very likely that the procedures will be different depending on which runway is in use, in terms of, for example, your star. Never start a descent without authorization. Rob mentioned this earlier on as far as climbs are concerned. The same is true as far as descents are concerned. Doesn't matter what the FMS says, your top of descent marker, the count on the keyboard, whatever it might be, your top of descent doesn't know about the other traffic, right? So make sure ATC have cleared you to change level.
And as Rob also alluded to, the transition level can vary and does vary wildly. So make sure you check the charts and the ATIS to make sure you know where to switch, and we'll talk about where to find that in a moment.
Maintain 390, thank you.
Quick word about CPDLC then. This is text messaging for aeroplanes, okay? And it's something which is ubiquitous in real life across Europe and a lot of other places, less so in the States, although I think it's starting to get there a little bit. Some aircraft have got direct integration using the Hoppy system. You might have heard a little bit about this, your Phoenixes, your FS Labs, things like that. There is also an option if your aircraft doesn't have Hoppy integration, and it's a really cool, lightweight, totally free program called ECCPDLC, and you can download it as a link there. As I say, I'm sure Evan will put a link somewhere else as well.
How do you do that?
So CPDLC is, as I say, option if you're right. So make sure ATC have cleared you to change level, and as Rob also alluded to, the transition level can vary and does vary wildly. So make sure you check the charts and the ATIS to make sure you know where to switch, and we'll talk about where to find that in a moment. Quick word about CPDLC then. This is text messaging for aeroplanes, okay? And it's something which is ubiquitous in real life across Europe and a lot of other places, less so in the States, although I think it's starting to get there a little bit. Some aircraft have got direct integration using the Hoppy system. You might have heard a little bit about this, your Phoenixes, your FS Labs, things like that. There is also an option if your aircraft doesn't have Hoppy integration, and it's a really cool, lightweight, totally free program called ECCPDLC, and you can download it as a link there. As I say, I'm sure Evan will put a link somewhere else as well.
Over Boston,
so CPDLC is really important to mention that voice is still the primary means of communication. So CPDLC is a supplement, not a replacement for voice communication. And let's have a little look at how we're going to do this. So we're cruising along and we want to talk to Canary AS control. So we found the identifier in the controller info as we looked at there, and we're going to click log on. We're going to type in the code, and we're going to send off our clearance, our log-on request to Canary AS control. Controller's going to see that. It's going to see that Iberia 8946 wants to initiate CPDLC with us, and in a moment, hopefully, they're going to see that and respond. And there we go. So it says current ATC unit CCRI Canary AS control. Great, we're now logged on, we're connected. We've established our CPDLC connection. So we received a message here, an instruction, in fact, to climb to flight level 360. You can see a couple of mouse clicks, Wilco, that's it, that's our interaction with ATC done. And we can now go in and update.
What is the iteration?
Our level. If we want to request something, for example, we want to request a shortcut or something like that, or a different level, we can do that. So, for example, we want to request a direct to this point roster, a little bit of a shortcut here. We can go into the menu, request direct, type in the waypoint that we want, roster. We can give a reason if we want to, and we're going to send it off. And ATC again are going to see that. They're going to say, you know, either unable, or they will respond with, there we go, great news, we've been cleared to proceed direct to roster. So again, same principle, just a couple of mouse clicks, Wilco, that's it. ATC are going to receive that acknowledgement, know that we've seen it, and we can go plugging that into our FMS. Some of your aircraft with integration, like your FS Labs, for example, you can actually uplink those messages, those directs and things like that directly into the FMS. So it cuts out some of that opportunity for error and things like that. As you can imagine, it also really cuts down on the amount of frequency time that's used. It allows messages to be transmitted really quickly and easily, accurately, and it's clearer for important communication. So as I say, remember, we do still have to be listening and monitoring the frequency, because anything that's important or urgent will always come over voice, because CPDLC isn't quick enough for things that are not routine like that.
Rob mentioned the transition altitude. As we said, in Europe and most of the rest of the world outside North America, the transition altitude will vary from airport to airport. You can find it on the charts. I've got some examples here of where you can find the transition altitude, like on the Jefferson charts here for Gatwick, and like most things that are really important, Jefferson make it really small in like size 6 font and tuck it out the way so you can't see it. Or in this example below, the charts you might get from something like ChartFox, the state-produced charts for Amsterdam. In this case, you can see the transition altitude for Amsterdam is 3,000 feet. Transition level is what we're mainly concerned with because we're arriving into Europe. It's lowest usable flight level above the transition altitude, and because of that, it will vary depending on the pressure quite often to make sure that you're properly separated. It will be in the ATIS for the airport you're arriving at. The most important thing is that we have our altimeter set correctly. So if we're on a flight level, as Rob mentioned, we need to be on standard pressure. If we are on an altitude, then we need to be on the local QNH, which will almost certainly be in hectopascals, HPA, not inches of mercury. Stars, as we mentioned earlier on, in Europe and most of the rest of the world outside North America, stars are usually assigned by ATC as opposed to being filed in the flight plan, and the reason for that is because they are usually runway dependent. So, for example, you can see on the screen here, we've got an example of a couple of arrivals, the PSAP arrival into Dusseldorf, and you can see that for the 05 runways, our route takes us initially in this southerly direction, whereas for the 23s, we start at PSAP and we go off in an easterly direction. So you can see how if we got that wrong, if we put the wrong one in, we'd cause a whole lot of mess. So it's really important that we make sure we load the correct procedure for the runway that's in use. Again, look ahead, anticipate, and get the ATIS, and make sure you've got a sense of what you're going to get, and make sure that you've loaded what you've actually been cleared for. This ties in quite nicely with my next slide about briefing the arrival. Now, I could talk for hours about this. This is my thing, right? Threat and error management, CRM, all that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, I've only got about 60 seconds because apparently Evan would quite like everybody to still be awake at the end of this. So I'll put some examples in here of things that we should be thinking about, whether the approach you're expecting, things like that. But the main thing I will say is I have a friend who used to be a very senior training captain for British Airways, and what he used to always says is you should be the world expert in the approach or departure procedure that you're about to fly, okay? So basically nothing should come as a surprise. So when we talk about situation awareness, we build it in blocks, and we talk about noticing, understanding, and thinking ahead. And so we need to notice, gather all the information first. We need to understand what that means for us, and then think ahead and think about how we can apply that. Try and think about how you're going to fly these procedures. Try and think about contingencies. It's likely that what you initially think is going to be planned might change. Think about how you will deal with, for example, a change of runway, a change of arrival. How will you program it? What can you do to get ahead to make it easier for yourself? And the other thing I'd say is, look, you got plenty of time. Use your time during the cruise wisely. Have a look through the pilot brief that you get from your cross-prom briefing package. Read through it, familiarize yourself with everything that's in there, because there'll be loads of useful information. As I say, use your time wisely. A word about holding, especially into the UK. You can expect that if it's busy, you are going to get holds. They can be published or unpublished. They can be on the chart or something that ATC has essentially made up. Either way, if you want to program it in, and that's going to be the easiest way to do it, you're going to need to know the same information. Fundamentally, the fix to holdover, in this case Bovingdon, the inbound track of the hold, in this case 116 degrees, the direction of turns, so the holding patterns, right-hand turns are standard. So if it's not specified, the direction of turn would be right. If it's left-hand turns, that would have to be specified. And the length of the hold. It can be a time or it can be a distance. Again, if it's not specified, the standards are 1 minute below flight level 140 and a minute and a half above flight level 140. How are we going to pop it in? something that you should have a look at in advance. Make sure you know how to do with your aircraft and your FMS. There's some examples on the screen there of how you could do it in a Boeing and an Airbus aircraft. Do double check if a hold is part of a procedure. It's likely that the box will have it, but make sure that it is correct because it's not infallible.
Ben 1, okay. Inbound course 116. Right turn. Like time 1 minute. Oh, yeah. Okay. That's good information. Hey, Nick. Yeah, how we doing, man? How we doing? Welcome in. With the family. How we doing after TwitchCon?
Toronto approach, reach 22 Bravo, radio check.
And also
we're doing our pilot briefing
ahead, so we think about that situation awareness thing.
And we're landing into Toronto.
From listening to the radio that other aircraft ahead of us are being issued a hold.
I'm worn out.
We understand from that. We understand that it's likely we might get a hold as well. So thinking ahead.
They want to talk to us.
Transition, flight planned route.
They want to talk to us. Oh, I pressed the wrong button. What did I press?
Squawk 2211.
I meant to press
with the off-pod transition, runway
the mute, or not the mute, the pause button there.
22 Bravo, your feedback is correct. Push and start at your discretion. Advise ready for taxi.
Okay.
Well advised, thank you. Copter, reshoot you, Bravo.
We should have had numbers. Okay. Toronto approach. Good evening. This is Delta 703 Heavy. We are on number 6. We're direct Rakoto. We're descending we're at 11,000 feet. And we're lined up or set up for the 2-4 left.
Delta 703 Heavy. Toronto arrival. Squawk ident.
Squawk ident for 703.
Delta 703 Heavy, you're identified at 11,000, runway 24 left, altimeter 3004, information uniform is correct.
3004, we have uniform on board for Delta 703. Okay. Maybe we save the rest. It's a long briefing. Jesus. Kind of surprised. Save the rest of that for later.
Ed, we might.
Nope. Tunes. What was your favorite part, Nick, of the TwitchCon? Did you hear that they're
Copter reach 22 Bravo at the northeast.
Did you hear they're no longer? They're not. Well, not no longer, but they are not doing it at Vegas next year, and they said that they have a long-term contract with a different city. And from what I've heard, it sounds like San Diego, because they were hinting at it was somewhere where they were before. Yeah, Dan Clancy's stream. It was either his stream last night or today, where that got dropped. I think it was last night because he did a Q&A last night. 8,000 Delta 703. Yeah, so it sounds like San Diego. Yeah, check out his stream from, I believe it was last night. He had a very long Q&A. And he discussed a lot. He talked about that Aiden guy that got kicked out. I mean, it was a pretty good Q&A. I didn't see the whole thing. I just saw the clips.
Toronto approach, ready
but he answered the questions that people wanted answered, so.
Reach 22 Bravo.
All right, landing lights are on.
Departure runway 26 from Charlie. It's approximately 3,000 feet.
Here we go. Into Toronto.
Oh, yeah. Reach Future Bravo, affirmative.
Reach 22 Bravo, roger at Charlie, line up runway 26.
Yeah, I agree too. I agree.
Reach 22 Bravo, just confirm at Charlie, line up runway 26.
I wish.
Reach Future Bravo at Charlie.
Oasis 22, I'm assuming you can also
I feel like
that
the
intersection departure,
TwitchCon.
3,000 feet of runway.
Did you do the one in San Diego 2 years ago? I can't remember if you said you did or
altimeter
not.
3004, information Bravo is current. Taxi via Charlie, hold short runway 26.
But they did the concert last year, and it felt like you were able to meet more people. 2019. Okay, so not last year's. They had a concert at Petco Park, and it just felt like more of a condensed meet and greet. Whereas that Area 15 thing was just like, I got lost in that shit. That shit was crazy. Yeah, we got a photo of him with my button. He's got my merch. He's got some of it. Old Dan Clancy, man. I really hope it's back in San Diego because I got multiple reasons. One, all of the hotels for TwitchCon were either connected or across the street within a block. So like everybody was staying in the same place. In Vegas, you got 8 billion places to stay, right? And then the Airbnbs. So that was the first thing. The time you got your ticket for TwitchCon, the party was sold out. Yeah, it was, I mean, it was okay. It was just like, it was wild, man. And it was loud, and it was just like, I don't know. I found it a little hard to talk to other people because it was just too loud. I mean, I had fun, but it was just like, it was a fucking party, right?
1,300 climbing, reach
what did they do in 19?
Turn left direct, NADA on course, climb 11000.
Is this Toronto we're flying over? It is Toronto.
11000, reach Toronto.
Son of a gun. Oh, there's the airport. What up, Toronto? How we doing, String? Yeah, the concert idea was great, man. They rented out Petco Park, and the whole field was open, and you could walk around that, and there's plenty of room. It was sick. I mean, comparatively, I would much rather prefer that. Megan Thee Stallion.
Air Shuttle 6189 from Arrival, squawk ident.
All right, here's Toronto. I'm surprised there's no snow.
Oasis 22 on departure, left-hand turn heading 180, wind calm from Charlie, cleared for takeoff runway 26.
There's the airport.
Clear for takeoff runway 26.
Hey, there he is. That's the guy that's cleared for takeoff. Right there. See him?
Air Shuttle 6189, you identified descending through flight level 200. Runway 24 left, altimeter 3004.
That's so cool.
Information uniform is current. Descend 8000. 78,000, runway 4 left.
What about that moonrise there? There's that
Delta
airplane.
703, descend 4,000.
4,000, Delta 703. He had to keep me above that guy that was taking off. I love it. It was at the baseball stadium. See, that's the thing, man. That is the move. And you loved it, right? Am I right? It was probably the bee's knees. It was probably the bee's knees. Yeah, and everything's so close. And then the gas lamp district, it's all on one street, right? I mean, everybody is there.
Oasis 22, say altitude.
Look at the buildings here.
Leaving 1300 for Oasis.
Toronto. This is gonna be a hell of a view.
Flight 180 heading for now, climb 1000.
Let me get the right wing.
That's 1000, we'll fly heading 180, Oasis 22.
And that's not what I want. What do you think?
Reach 22 Bravo, you can contact Cleveland
It's
Center,
like
119 or decimal 87. Good day.
900, small 875.
Yeah, all the bars are right there. I mean, if you want to go to Little Italy or something like that, but that all shuts down early, and then everybody's funneled into that one street, and they have it all shut down. So it's a ton of like pedestrian area to walk around. It's just, I feel like that's the play, man. San Diego's the play. Clip it, send it to Dan Clancy. DJ Clancy, there you go.
Delta 2115.
That's my opinion.
605,000.
Who'd they have play for you?
2115 total arrivals identified. Climb 7,000. 7,000 Delta 2115.
Oh, there's some traffic right there. All right, we probably should get in the cockpit here. Uh, 210. I'll keep the 210 speed.
Wait, 22, just confirm you're making that left turn direct.
In 19, when you, at the 19 party.
Turn now for which is 22.
Delta 2115, turn left direct to Sabre on course.
Direct Sabre now on course, Delta 2115.
Who played for you? We're doing the turn and burn here, I think. So let's, I think we're gonna, Dulles? Is Dulles still a viable option? It is. Ooh, it is. Oh yeah, Potomac approach is on. I don't feel like flying into snow. So let's go to Dulles. We can bring the big plane in there.
Delta 2115, proceed direct to Rickham, climb flight level 230.
Direct Rickham now, flight level 230, Delta 2115.
There's downtown.
Canada 459, final arrival to US frequency.
Let's see, we get the right, yeah, look at that. The right wing view. It's better outside. Toronto at night. Lil Nas, Blink 182? Holy shit. No way. Wow, they brought those guys in. Whoa. Yeah, that was probably fucking sick.
Toronto arrival, Air Canada 459.
Nice.
Canada 459, final arrival to G'day, block item. Delta 703, turn left heading 330, descend 3000.
Left 300, 3000, Delta 703.
Left heading 330.
330 and 3000, Delta 703, thanks.
Oasis 22, contact Cleveland Center, 119.87, good day.
1987 for Oasis 22, we'll see you.
Canada 459, you're identified descending through 9,000 feet. Are you set up for runway 23 or 24 left?
24 left, 459.
Canada 459, roger, runway 24 left, altimeter 3004, information uniform is current, descent 5,000.
Down to 5,000, Air Canada 459. Yeah, I don't know why I lost your voice there, it's weird.
Air Canada 459, no worries.
Yeah, that was our problem. Alright, flaps one.
Delta 703, I see you makes the turn, just confirm you're descending to 3,000 as well.
That's affirmative, we're starting to descend to 3,000 to 703.
Roger.
I think it was the speed, it wants to slow us down before we head down.
Delta 703, turn left heading 270 to intercept, cleared ILS 24 left approach.
Left 270 to intercept, 27 left, 24 left approach, Delta 703.
Departure is Canadian Express 136, airborne through 2,700.
Canadian Express 136, final arrival is identified, climb 7,000.
7,000, Canadian Express 136.
Canadian Express
136, traffic at your 12 o'clock, 7.5 miles at Embraer 175 eastbound, restricted to 8,000, reports inside.
Canadian Express 136, have the driver.
2,500.
Canadian Express 136, roger, they're restricted to 8,000, you're restricted to 7, should be no factor. Break, air, shuttle 6189, traffic
okay.
at your
QNH 10009.
37 westbound, restricted to 7,000 feet.
Wish I had a co-pilot. Temperature 12.
Canadian Express 139, turn left direct.
350 at 11.
Direct Oakville on.
Direct Oakville on course. Canadian Express 136. Canadian Express 136 only. Direct Oakville on course.
ILS 24 left. Okay, that would be minimums at 797.
Canada 457, cleared ILS on the 24 left approach, maintain 5,000 to glide path.
Close call.
5,000 on the glide, cleared approach, 24 left, Air Canada 459.
Canadian Express 136, front arrival.
136.
Canadian Express 136, just making sure you heard that instruction, turn left direct Oakville on course, and you can climb 15,000 now.
Okay, here we go. We have tower.
15,000 direct Oakville on course. Canadian Express 136.
Delta 2115, contact Cleveland Center 119.87, good day.
Cleveland Center, thanks for your help. Delta 115, I'll see ya.
Air Shuttle 6189, descend 4,000. 4,000.
Dan, I think he is turning things around, right? With all the announcements lately, it seems like he's finally convinced the board, you know.
Delta 703, contact tower 187, good day.
187, Delta 703, thanks, see ya. Toronto Tower, good evening. This is Delta 703 Heavy. We're on the ILS 24 left.
Delta 703, Toronto Tower, hello to wind 2305. You clear to land runway 24 left.
Clear to land 24 left, Delta 703. All right, here we go. Laps are full. Gear is down. We'll set the brakes at low. Do a little look-see outside. All right, all looks well. Beautiful evening for some flying. All right, let's focus. Cabin checks. Give you guys a little checkerino. And we can bring the speeds down now. All right, final speeds are set. Here we go.
FS realistic connected.
Let's put her down.
1,000.
Need some light in here. There we go. That's better. Oh, it's a little choppy. It is a little choppy. Need to get the spoilers set too. There we go.
500.
There we go.
500.
All right, I'll take it.
400. 300. 300. 300. 200. 100. 50. 40, 30, 20, 10, 5.
Delta 703, welcome to Toronto, vacate right 1 able, cross 24 right, and contact ground 121.65 once crossed. Good day.
Exit right, cross 24 right, and over to ground at 703, thanks. Let's go. Okay, let's get the APU on. Over to ground, 121.65.
Sir, good evening, Air Canada 459, final 24.
Toronto ground, good evening, this is Delta 703. We are crossing 24 left on Charlie.
Delta 703 Toronto ground, good evening. Charlie's incorrect, you're on Delta 4. You can make a right on Charlie, and then Alpha Juliet to Terminal 3.
Charlie 4, Alpha 3, Charlie 4 to Charlie, Alpha 3 to Terminal 4, Delta 703.
Oh, Delta 703, wrong order. Charlie, Alpha Juliet to Terminal 3.
Charlie Alpha, and then what was the Alpha Juliet? Was that what it was?
Yep, that's the apron entry.
Okay, got it. Charlie Alpha Juliet for Delta 703.
Thank you.
No, we appreciate it. We're getting ready for Cross the Pond, so we've been offline for 2 weeks.
Good practice. Better to make your mistakes now than in Cross the Pond. You're on Delta right now. Continue down Delta, cross runway tree right.
Yeah, you're right. It is good to get these mistakes out now. All right, let's get these out of the way, eh? Got that. We're slow rolling. Delta. And ground, just to confirm, do you want us crossing 33 right on Delta, or do you want us to cross back over to Charlie on Charlie 2?
Straight ahead on Delta is fine. You can cross tree right.
Straight ahead on Delta, cross 33 right, Delta 703, thanks. Terminal 2. It all happened so fast. Okay. Let's put those away. Let's put that away. Let's stow that. Let's stow that. And crossing 33 right on.
And ground at Canada 727, ready to taxi with Victor. Air Canada 727, roger, thanks for Victor, altimeter 3004, taxi via Alpha Hotel. 23 via Alpha Hotel, and 3004, Air Canada 77.
Where the hell's Terminal 2? Terminal 1, Terminal 1, Terminal 3. What am I missing here? Alright. This is the cross. We are now crossing.
Push at 545, right on hotel, contact tower 187.
Contact tower 187, one from hotel, rush at 545, thank you for the help today.
Okay.
Left Alpha Juliet. We're gonna get this. go. We got the Alpha.
Ground Air Canada 459, Terminal 1, please.
Canada 459, Roger, gate 138, taxi Charlie Alpha Alpha Lima to the ramp.
Charlie Alpha Alpha Lima to the ramp, 459, thank you.
Where's Alpha Juliet? Okay. All right. Now I see it. All right, we're good. We're good. We're good. We're gonna get her to the gate, boys. We're gonna get her to the gate. We'll get her done. Get the APU cooking.
All tower ground, flare 600 radio check this.
Flare 600, turn on ground, Richard 5.
It's another A330, I think. A Butte. Why does it look like there's a split in the radio? Okay, alright, I think we do turn right. Slight right. And then it's the next right.
Canada 727, tower now 18, 7 good night. 18-7 for Canada 77, good night.
Alright, we made it. Now we gotta get the Dulles flight.
Right, sit back, gauge 156,
Air Channel 6189, turn around, good evening. 168 via Delta Romeo, cross runway tree right.
Over here?
Delta Romeo, cross
I wish it were a little lighter, hold on. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that one looks fine. Come on, get in there, cowboy. Dude, I think it's 5,000 viewers in the chat right now, Pizza Guy. How are you doing?
600 request clearance to Chicago, currently gate Alpha 3 information uniform.
Flare 600, Toronto ground, good evening. Here, Flare to Chicago O'Hare Airport by the Go Pup 4 departure. Hockey transition.
What's going on with you, Pizza Guy?
Departure runway 23, squawk 6375.
Flare 600, cleared to Chicago, Go Pup 4 departure, hockey transition.
Cut the engines.
375.
Flare 600, your reback is correct information. Victor, it's current propulsion start there. Discretion call ready for taxi.
Do we want to do GSX? We'll take the Air Canada. Look at that. Look at that. It's working. The GSX is working. How outstanding is that, huh? Okay. Let's build this next flight, shall we? Okay, edit flight.
Ground, good evening. Air Canada 126 Heavy. Confirmation Victor. Requesting IFR clearance to Indianapolis, please.
Oh, I'm watching, what am I watching? I'm watching football. College football.
Indianapolis Airport via the mix at 7 departure, gantry transition flight plan route, departure runway 23, squawk 6363.
Okay.
Cleared to Indianapolis asphalt mix 7 departure. Then gantry transition, expecting runway 23, squawk 6363 for Air Canada 126.
Canada 126 Heavy, your readback is correct. Portion started at your discretion. Call me ready for taxi.
Roger, we'll call ready for taxi.
Okay, we are deplaning and unloading. Wow, Pete's guy, I know how you feel, dude. Okay, okay. Toronto ground. Toronto ground. We have Victor. We are at Charlie. Okay. Do we load it in? Yes, we loaded it in. Okay. The Regis. We're on the Regis.
Toronto ground, good day. FedEx 332 Heavy parked on the FedEx ramp with information Victor. Request IFR clearance to Boston.
FedEx 332 on the FedEx ramp, Toronto ground, good evening. You are cleared to Boston Logan Airport via the Capital Tree departure, Bumpa transition flight plan route, departure runway 23.
Little GSX action for y'all. It's actually pretty entertaining. I want to do some more, what is that, ground flight airport sim?
Boston via the
yeah, that's what it is, airport sim.
Departure, Bumpa transition flight planned route, squawk 6362, FedEx 332.
FedEx 332, your readback is correct. Information vector is correct. Portion starts at your discretion. Call ready for taxi.
Roger, we have Victor on board and we will call ready for taxi, the FedEx 332.
Toronto ground, Delta 703. We're on the ground at Charlie 30. Information Victor. We'd like to request IFR clearance to Washington's Dulles.
Delta 703 Toronto ground, good evening. I still have your flight plan from Minneapolis. Could you just make sure that you've refilled your new flight plan?
Just verified and sent. There we go. That's my bad. That's my bad. You can see that APU cooking. It's just a lot of like, yeah, it is a lot of shit. It is. There's a lot going on, right? We just want to make sure we have this aircraft ready to go for across the pond. You know? Which, I mean, it dealt well there, but... it is fascinating. It's fun, right? It keeps you on your toes too, right? Because it just always seems like there's something new. It does. There's always something new at you, you know? I guess we should deplane the aircraft, right? Let's see. Refresh the flight plan. Get these people out.
And Delta 703 on your flight plan. Advise ready to copy.
Delta 703 is ready to copy.
Delta 703, you're clear to Washington Dulles International Airport via the Regis 5 departure flight plan route, departure runway 23 squawk 6364.
Clear to Washington via the Regis 5 flight plan route. We'll be expecting runway 23, squawking 6364, Delta 703.
Delta 703, read back is correct. Push and start is at your discretion. Call me ready for taxi.
Great, push and start's ours. We'll call you for taxi, Delta 703. Okay. Six 6364. Get him out. Get him out. Get him out. Get him out. That's all I'm saying, you know? So we can get the new guys in. There we go. No, instant. Get him out of there. There you go. Now get him in there. World's fastest turnaround here. All right, just like a NASCAR speed pit stop. 3004 is still current. Flight plan route. Sid says, what's Sid say? Sid says, unless otherwise assigned, 5,000. 5,000. Check. Go in here and in it.
Clear 600, Toronto ground, push and start is at your discretion. Call me ready for taxi.
You missed the channel points during the IRL string? Yeah, I know, man. I know. I don't know how to deal with that. I gotta figure that out. That's like next year's TwitchCon goal is to have IRL stream that has all the overlays. I mean, minus the lights, that would be insane, right? If I could somehow hook a Philips Hue light up to a controller to flash IRL. Be at a club or whatever, you just start a light show. Oh, that would be funny. How are the wheels looking? We kind of ran them. Oh yeah, they're good. Okay. Flight plan, departure 23. And Regis 5. Regis 5. No transition, huh? Why does that not look right? Murano, do some... Oh yeah, that's fine. Yep. Okay, fuel prediction. 161.5.
Ground FedEx 332 Heavy with information Victor, ready to taxi.
FedEx 332 Heavy, roger, thanks for Victor. Runway 23, altimeter 3004, taxi via Juliet, cross runway 15 left and 15 right.
Runway 23 via Juliet, cross 15 left and 15 right, FedEx 332.
Okay, we're ready. Let's prepare for push. Okay. West push.
Flight attendants, our doors across.
American, this is Air Canada 115. I hear you loud and clear, but it does not seem ground can. Maybe just driver connect the pilot.
evening, I can have a 27 crossing 24 right.
Okay, be right back. Give me 1 second.
Going to
Am I going to be flying on the spooky day or not? That's Tuesday, so yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, can I forward to center on the ground? Good evening.
Yeah.
135 is going to give that
Actually
to you
lines up
anyway.
perfectly.
Charlie Alpha Alpha Kilo.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Charlie Alpha Alpha Kilo to the right, I can have 425.
427.
487 is late, I can have 487, yeah. Sunwing 763, do we have to call for push or can we just push it back at discretion?
Push and start by your discretion. Come ready for taxi.
Alright, thank you.
Okay, alright, we are ready.
This is Milkwish and the new single African Rose before our Andy digging collaboration. It's
Here we go.
departure runway 23, squawk 6365.
Cleared St. Martin with a Regis 5 departure, flight plan route, depart runway 23, squawk 6365.
Air Canada 4289, your repack is correct. Person starts at your discretion, call ready for taxi.
Call you ready for taxi, Air Canada 4289.
Alright, I'll pause the musica. It's focus time. Oh. Brown, we're gonna hold short here for the flare.
Return from
I was about to call that out, thanks.
Alright, we'll go first, thanks, Flare. Alright.
Hey, Danielson, thanks for those bits. Yeah, those IRL streams were litty. There's a lot going on in New York. There was a lot going on. That is There's a lot going on.
And Phone Note 3 Heavy, follow the beautiful flare.
Following the beautiful flare for Delta Sono 3.
Oh, that's off.
I think we made him blush.
A little bit, yeah.
Man. These guys. Okay, brakes are set, lights are set. Little ding dong for the ding dong. And we're doing the turn and burn here, Danielson, your favorite.
And Flare 762 is ready for taxi with Victor. Sunwing 760 is ready for taxi with Victor.
Jesus. Wow,
that makes a bit more sense. Sunwing 762, runway 23, altimeter 3004, taxi via Alpha Hotel.
We're gonna have ourselves a little traffic jam here.
Taxi via Alpha Hotel, the runway 23.
Ground Sunwing 762 is also ready for taxi with Victor.
Sunwing 762, roger, runway 23, the altimeter 3004, taxi via Alpha Hotel.
23 via Alpha Hotel, Sunwing 762.
Should we do a little Delta? Thank you for flying Delta.
Memories are more powerful when we make them together. Shared with friends and loved ones. Every flight is a chance
I knew it was something
to
about memories.
Looking for Echo Yankee off
And when we celebrate, we connect the world.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard.
Echo
and thank
Yankee.
you for flying with Delta.
Can I just give you
Our first priority on every
that's just
flight
the
is
other
the health
side?
and safety of our customers and crew. So before we depart,
Please pay attention to this
Alright,
important
Charlie,
safety
4,
message.
Fox,
Be sure that all
There's the
carrying
flare.
items are securely
I like
stowed
that
in
lime
the
green on the
overhead
bottom
bin
of it.
and place
Charlie 4,
smaller
Fox,
items,
Fox,
including
Fox,
handbags,
Fox,
under the seat in front of you.
75.
If you lose your electronic device in your seat, please
Ground
do
Air
not
Canada
adjust your
16
seat
Heavy,
and ask
ready
a
to
crew
taxi.
member for assistance. Please
126
ensure all aisles,
Heavy,
exits, and
roger,
bulkhead
runway
areas
23,
are
altimeter
clear.
3004,
as we leave the
taxi
gate,
via
make
Alpha
sure your
Hotel.
seatbelt is fastened. To fasten, insert the
Taxi
metal
via
tip
Alpha
into the
Hotel,
buckle
runway
and adjust the
23.
strap so it's
Air
low
Canada
and tight
16
across your
Heavy.
lap. To release the belt,
Sorry,
just
600
lift the top
tower
of the
now,
buckle.
1879.
If your seat has a shoulder harness, secure it by attaching the metal tip to the fitting on the belt. To release, remove the metal tip and allow the shoulder harness to retract.
Please remain seated with your seatbelt
Land
securely
600 on the
fastened
power now,
anytime the
118.7.
seatbelt sign is on. Even if the sign is off, please keep your seatbelt fastened whenever you're seated in case of sudden rough air. In the event of rough air,
You
the
have to call
crew
him
might
Beautiful
also need
Flare.
to buckle up for safety. We apologize if this means
Delta
our
Phone
service
03
is
looks like
interrupted.
your friend there has already gone over the tower. Same for you, 118.7.
Okay, we'll contact Tower
in
1187
addition to
Delta
any crew
Thanks.
member's instructions.
Smoking, the use of e-cigarettes, or any smokeless product including chewing tobacco is not allowed on any Delta flight. Federal law prohibits tampering with, disabling, or destroying restroom smoke detectors. There are 8 exits on this plane. 8 doors, 4 on each side. Each door has a detachable slide that can be used as a raft. In the event of an evacuation, leave all carrying items behind. All exits are clearly marked with a green symbol. Arrows arrows indicate the direction to these exits. Please take a moment to find the exits closest to you, and remember, they might be behind you. If there's a loss of power, lights will illuminate the aisle to guide you to an exit.
It's unlikely, but if cabin pressure changes, the panels inside the lavatories and above your seat will open, revealing oxygen masks. If this happens, reach up and pull the mask or red streamer towards you into the tube will be extended to start the flow of oxygen. Place the mask over your nose and mouth. Slip the elastic strap over your head and adjust the mask if necessary. Breathe normally and know that oxygen is flowing, so don't worry if the bag doesn't inflate. Be sure to adjust your own mask.
Roger, exit on Delta 4. We'll contact ground on the other side of 24 right.
Vests are in a compartment beneath or adjacent to your seat. To use, remove the vest from its container by pulling on the tab.
I saw streamers at the events.
Slip the vest over your head.
There weren't as many IRL streamers on day 1 as there were on day 2 at the convention center.
As you leave the plane, inflate the vest by pulling down on the red tab at the bottom of the vest, or manually inflate it by blowing into the tube at shoulder
there weren't a lot of people just streaming on the streets that I saw because it was so hard to get between places walking that everybody Ubered.
And secure the strap between the legs.
So
refer to the safety
it was
information
a lot of
card for more information. Additional life vests for in-lap children are located in a marked compartment at the front and rear of the plane. We'll distribute these vests if necessary.
Now before we take off, be sure your seat is upright, your aisle armrests are at resting position, and your tray table is put away. If you have a suite door, ensure it is open. Please note that there is a placard on the door, visible when closed, explaining how to use the suite door in case of an emergency. Please take a moment to review the safety information card, which is in your seat pocket.
As we come through the cabin for our final safety check, please let us know if you have any questions.
245 is what...
Wherever your celebrations take you, thanks for choosing Delta to fly you there.
There we go. We're set.
Now, as we get ready for takeoff, please settle in and have a wonderful flight. Thank you for flying with Delta.
Delta 703, 1 airborne, contact arrival 132.8 to 12207. You're clear for takeoff runway 23. Good day.
Once airborne, contact 132.8.703. Thanks. .245. Departure, good evening. This is Delta 703. We just took off from Toronto. We are climbing 3.4 for 5, heading 245.
All aircraft stand by 1. Delta 703 Heavy Toronto arrivals, you're identified passing 4,500. Turn left direct Dewsum on course, climb 15.
Clear direct Dewsum, 15,000, Delta 703.
Lufthansa 470, descend 5,000. 5,000, Lufthansa 470.
And we're up. We're en route. Start the clock. Start the clock. Let's go. Let's get back to our... Where were we on that?
577 Flare, 600, thanks, good day.
Okay.
Toronto approach, good evening, American 141, currently descending lane 3 with information Victor, and we're just about to pass 50,000.
Lovely departure.
American 141, Toronto arrivals, good day, runway 24 left, altimeter 3004, information Victor is correct.
Lovely.
We'll expect 2 for left for American 144. American 141, just confirmed center, gave you a descent to 8,000, correct? That is correct, and we are descending now to 8,000.
Arrival, good evening, Lufthansa 4782.
Who's on board?
Passing 10,000 to 8,000.
Lufthansa 4782, heavy Toronto arrivals, good day, runway 24 left, altimeter 3004.
Where's Toronto
Information
at?
Victor is current, descend 5,000.
Over there.
Victor on board, altimeter 3004, 24 left and descend 5,000, Lufthansa 4782 heavy.
WestJet 131,
This is the jet.
Tower 18, good day.
This is the jet we're taking on the jump across the pond, man. This one's gonna get us all 6.5 hours. Ooh.
Delta 703, contact to Toronto Center, 125.77, good day.
2577 for Delta 703, thanks, good day. $10,000 lights. We'll let them walk amongst the cabin.
Walker 1326, turn left heading
2577.
Was that left 320 and down to 3,000, Walker 1326?
Left turn heading 330, descend 3. Air Canada 536, Toronto Center, hello.
Toronto Center, a very good evening. This is Delta 703 Heavy. We're crossing 11,100 for 15.
Delta 703, Toronto Center, hello, welcome aboard, climb flight level 230.
I'm 230 for Delta 703. A lot of threes tonight, Jesus. Okay, we got 230 in there. We're above the 10, we got the seatbelt set, we got the lights set. We are up.
77. See ya. Air Canada 519.
Consider that en route. Add a flight plan, load flight plan, statistics, and the coverage tonight. I think we're safe here. I think we're so close. I hope they don't toss us off. But and then into DC, it's perfect. It's a beaut. I can't believe there's snow. We're gonna have to deal with that pretty soon. Engine heat, wing heat. We're gonna get ice warnings here. Yes, sir. Up and away. How them Hokies doing, huh? I gotta figure out this what was that tool he was talking about?
Flyer 642, Toronto Center, good evening, welcome aboard.
Easy CPDLC.
Hey, Toronto Center 88, Lucy,
Yeah.
Thunder 880, descend 11,000, Toronto altimeter 3004, information Victor.
And you can brake nice and efficiently
She said 11,000, I think 3004, and we have Victor.
Thunder 880, I am just showing you off the star here, just confirm your next waypoint for me.
We might see something like
I'm turning to like to E-train, and after that is boxes.
think ahead. So if we think about that situation awareness thing, so we might notice right, from listening to the radio that other aircraft ahead of us on the same route are being issued a hold, right? So what do we understand from that? We understand that it's likely we might get a hold as well. So thinking ahead, we might want to load that into the box, maybe not execute it at this point, but load it in there so it's ready to go in case we do get issued that hold. And we might also want to think about things like how much fuel do we have, where's our alternate, how much fuel do we need to get there, do we need to set up an alternate route to our alternate area?
Imagine if we have to do an alternative route after a 7-hour flight.
Understand, think ahead, build that situation awareness. Something else you might hear with holding, by the way, if you put into a hold, is you might get what's called an EFC, an expected further clearance time. The important thing to note about this is that it is fuel planning only. In real life, what it does is it allows us to be a little bit more flexible with our fuel, basically. It allows us to, if we know how long the delay is likely to be, it gives us the opportunity potentially to what we call commit to our destination airfield and maybe burn into some of our alternate fuel to stay in the hold for a bit if we know that we're going to get a clearance to leave the hold at a later point. But it is not a clearance to leave the hold at that time. You will only
over
ever
to Cleveland
be
for Delta 703, thanks.
Instructed to leave the hold. Just carry on going, even if that time comes and goes, we're going to carry on in the hold until we're explicitly told to leave it.
To get down a little bit. Expect. You don't always get what you expect.
343, all right.
Exactly.
Are you able to hold that lane?
So, Rod talks a little about SIDS.
We'll hold that
we're going to talk a little bit about stars and some of the phraseology that you might encounter across Europe. So, couple of things here. So, cleared for the running 1 X-ray arrival or the Never 4 was...
Caliber 36, contact Buffalo approach 126.15.
126.15, Pilot 36.
Cleveland Center, good evening again. This is Delta 703 Heavy. We are 21,000 for 230.
Delta 703 Cleveland Center, climb to maintain flight level 330.
330, Delta 703, appreciate it.
Aircraft calling for push, what was the call sign?
Delta 1746.
Delta 1746, push and starts at your discretion, advise ready to taxi.
All right.
Push stars, call for taxi, Delta 1746, and verify squawk correct.
Cleveland Center, good evening, Endeavor 5483.
Endeavor 5483, Cleveland.
Ooh, we got a break.
And Delta 2203, ready for push here on Detroit.
Delta 2203, push your discretion, advise ready to taxi.
Advise ready taxi, Delta 2203.
Delta 1746, squawk 1015.
1015.
Lovely. Okay, where were we here? Had to do some pilot stuff, you know. All right, let's step into the classroom here.
Ski transition that we've got here on the screen. What are we expected to do that? Basically to follow the lateral and the speed constraints, and whatever we do, not to descend without ATC clearance.
True.
Just the lateral portion of it. We might hear something like cleared for the running 1 X-ray arrival with the runway 04 transition. The transition is going to be the bit that gets us from the end of the star to the initial approach fix or on to the final approach. Again, what are we going to do here? Notice that same kind of phraseology that you heard earlier. We're going to follow the lateral and the speed constraints on the star, so we're going to follow the route and the speed, but we're not going to descend without an explicit clearance.
Let's talk about this.
Slight difference here. Cleared for the Nether 4 Whiskey transition and profile, right? So what does that and profile mean? Well, it's an important word because not only now are we cleared to follow the lateral and speed constraints on the transition, the route and the speed, we're also expected to follow the altitude constraints, except we're going to descend no further than the lowest level on the transition, in this case 3,500 feet. When ready, this is something which sometimes is a bit confusing. People sort of say that they're, they don't really understand what this means.
I hate it.
And basically, it's really straightforward. It is, as it says on the tin, it's a pilot's discretion instruction. When you are ready to do whatever it is, start your descent, etc.
Hey, you could do it in 5 minutes.
That is when you should start. When it is optimum for you.
What?
An important thing to say here is that it is not it's not a passive-aggressive thing. It's not ATC saying, we really think you should be ready now to start your descent. No, you start when you are.
Whenever you're ready. Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
Right. So if we were cleared to descend, say, flight level 90 by fake here, for example, that we would descend. So outside of, and we'll come on to this a little bit more in the future, in the next couple of slides, but if we were in Europe, we would start a descent down to flight level 90 and we would follow these restrictions here. So we have to comply with our flight level 130 between flight level 100 and 130 and 250 knots at Totley. In the UK, we can ignore that, and we'll talk more about that in a moment, but mostly we have to follow these instructions when we get a descent. In Europe and so basically outside the UK, we like being special in the UK. We'll talk more about the UK in a moment. But outside the UK and the rest of the world, you may hear descend via star. So we're going to descend via star to flight level 70. What are we going to do? Well, we are going to start our descent immediately because it's not a pilot's discretion. It's not when ready. We need to meet all of our restrictions. So we need to make our flight level 100 to 130 at Totley and our speed of 250 knots. And we're going to descend no further than the level that's been given by ATC, in this case, flight level 70. Slight variation, descend via star to flight level 70, cancel the level restriction at Totley. Well, what we're going to do, we're going to bin off that level restriction here. We can ignore that. We still need to make the speed, and obviously we're not going to descend any further than the flight level 70 we've been cleared for. Descend unrestricted to flight level 70. Again, what are we going to do? We're going to start our descent immediately. We've not heard when ready. We can ignore all of this. We can bin off the altitude restrictions, the speed restrictions, the lot. Obviously, we're only going to descend as far as we've been cleared for flight level 70. Descend flight level 90 to be level by fake. Right? Now, you shouldn't really get this outside of the UK. It's not a great instruction because it is ambiguous, right? And this is something which is confusing in real life. It's a big topic of conversation in real life aviation as well. What we should do is we should descend, start descent immediately to flight level 90 because it's not when ready. But we do need to make sure we meet any of these previous charted restrictions. And we're going to descend to flight level 90. We're going to make sure we're at flight level 90 by this point fake, and we're not going to descend any further until we're cleared to do so.
I don't like that.
In the UK, if we get descend flight level 70, we're going to, again, it's not when ready, so we're going to start down straight away. Now, in the UK, any ATC instruction basically overrides any previous clearance or anything that's on the chart. So we bin off these altitudes here. We're just going to descend straight down to flight level 70 if we're in the UK only. We do have to comply with the speed. Now, once we got to the end of the star or the transition, then what are we going to do? Well, we might see something like then on track or on heading, or this little chevron line here. So if we see that, then basically it's important that we follow that instruction. So we're going to follow along that heading on that chevron line until we receive something further. The most important thing is that we're not going to go off and do our own thing or head turn towards the runway, something like that. Be careful about discontinuities here. We ditch them here and sequence this DL530 with the final approach fix is something people like doing a lot. If you do that, then what's going to happen when we get here, the aircraft's going to turn off and go towards the runway, right?
We should try and practice some flights in Amsterdam.
If you see something like this.
That might be
likewise,
wise of us.
The alternative, something like this.
Maybe that's what we do this weekend.
With a hold at the end of it. Do not proceed beyond Ockham without ATC clearance. What are we going to do when we get there? If we haven't heard anything else from ATC, we're just going to go into the hold at the level and speed we were cleared for, and we're going to sit there and wait for further instructions. Again, what we're not going to do is go off doing our own thing. Final couple of words about vacating the runway. Really important. We're going to have loads of, it's going to be busy, right? You're going to have people behind you spacing is going to be quite tight. It's really important that we use the minimum amount of time on the runway that we possibly can. It's worth thinking about this in your briefing. Whereabouts are you going to vacate the runway, right? Plan your braking and plan which side you're going to get off and where you're going to go so that you know in advance. It's not a surprise and you can brake nice and efficiently to get off at the taxiway that you want to vacate on. Really important, we don't stop on the runway. You're going to really upset the guy behind you when he has to go around. Once we're clear of the runway, so we need to be over the hold short line, we're going to stop and we're going to expect taxi instructions from ATC in general. There might be some variations to this depending on the airfield that you're arriving at. The details will be in your airport brief. But the main thing is we're going to occupy the runway for the least possible amount of time, right? Frodo says get off the runway, right? I used to, when I was at university some years ago, my now wife, then girlfriend, used to live with a Finnish girl who had a wonderful turn of phrase, and playing Mario Kart used to say, get off the way! Get off the way.
Want to shell at your butt.
Let's practice that on the on this one. Let's practice that.
So once we've got off the way,
that'd be good practice.
I thought about your taxi, and again, really good. Include this in. Use your time in the cruise when you've got your feet up and it's quiet and you've not got anything to do to think about where you're going to go after you've vacated the runway, where you're going to park, how you're going to get there. Look through the charts, see if there's any standard directions. For example, here at Amsterdam, there you can see that the taxiways are unidirectional, right? So taxiway Alpha, you can see, goes in a sort of clockwise direction. Taxiway Bravo goes anti-clockwise. Be aware of that, right? Because it's likely that if you're given, taxi via Alpha, ATC are going to expect that you're going to follow, you're going to know which direction that's going to be. You can expect a stand to be assigned. As with everything, if you can't accept it, let ATC know as soon as possible. And again, be prepared for the fact that it's going to be busy, it's going to be congested, you might have to stop and give way or hold at intermediate points. Again, just keep that situational awareness, have your chart up in front of you, follow it along, and make sure that we're following what's on the chart and not necessarily those taxiway signs in the sim if the sim is different to the chart. And that is just about it from me, so I'm going to throw it back to Rob for some final tips.
All right, back to me. Okay. A lot of what we've covered so far today is applicable anytime you fly on the network, really, but here are some tips and tricks that are specifically geared toward the across the pond event. All right. So first of all, every airport involved in the event is going to have a pilot briefing. You're going to find those at the ctp.vatsim.net website. This is the same website where you book your slot. So go to your booking. You should find the links to the briefings for your origin and your destination. Every airport's got some unique quirks. These briefings are going to help you know what to watch out for at those locations. They might even have scenery recommendations, freeware and payware in some cases, so you can make sure your airport layout is in the sim is as up to date as possible, and hopefully avert that situation
I should get Orlando scenery
where the taxiway letters don't match up with what's on the charts.
I guess I have to.
That same CTP website is going to contain your route. You don't have to do any route planning at all. You just have to use the one that they send you. I don't think they actually, when I say send, I don't think they actually email them out anymore, but you can just log into the booking site the night before or the morning of and use the route that they provide there.
Down to 250.703.
Sim brief flight alert might not be the same route that they want you to use for traffic management purposes for this event. I have said before, but I'll say it again. Make sure you have charts for the departure procedure, the arrival procedure, and the approach that you're flying. Just punching it into the FMC is only half the job. We're going to also want taxiway and terminal charts with gate numbers preferably handy for both your departure and your arrival. Consider
already beginning our descent.
Your nav data if you don't already do that regularly. Big tip is to bring extra fuel, a couple hours worth if you can, because you might get taxi delays, you might get holds airborne, you might get vectored for traffic, you might not get your optimal cruise altitude. That's the most efficient one. You might get stuck at a lower cruise level where you're not quite so fuel efficient. So don't get caught short. If you start running low on fuel, you are not going to get pushed to the front of the line, trust me. Do not try to let's do it. Hold on.
And 2203 ready to go, 22
we skipped one.
Delta 2203, runway 22 left, cleared for takeoff.
Yeah, okay. So the connection time that you want to use is approximately 45 minutes before your slot time. Connect 45 minutes before that CTOT, which is calculated takeoff time, and you would plan to push 20 minutes prior to that time. However, in the pilot briefing for your origin airport, it may say something slightly different than this. It might be adjusted a little sooner or a little later. Go by the guidance that's in that pilot briefing for your origin airport. However, these are some good general guidelines for planning purposes. In the coming days before, but that pilot briefing for your origin is going to have maybe some specifics that might be slightly different from this. This is going to put you in the ballpark. All right, here's where I left off. Try not to jump onto text. Now, if you're using text as a normal basis, that's fine. But try not, if you're on voice, don't use text or don't use private messages to try and get the controller's attention if they're very, very busy and they haven't gotten to you and you're just trying to jump into the conversation. Because that's not going to help. It's only going to make things worse. When controllers get really, really busy, it becomes more difficult to manage the private messages and the text chat, not less difficult. So you're really only going to complicate matters by trying to do that. Just stay on voice and just jump in when you can. Listen out for a gap in between exchanges and jump in there. And then finally, pay attention. Listen out for your call sign, especially if it's not a call sign that you use regularly. A good tip is to write it down on a piece of masking tape or something.
I'm using the one that I always use. So.
That's in real airline ops,
easy peasy.
By the way, they told you to hold sterile cockpit below 10,000 feet. And that is, that's probably the time you want to turn off your tail shift. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, write that down, stick it on your monitor there. But yeah, below 10,000, you might want to turn off the tail shift jams and be listening out for your call sign. All right, finally, I want to note that Across the Pond is the busiest event NATSIM puts on all year. Controllers are stretched to their maximums workload-wise. You don't want to do anything that's going to add to their workload. Be on your A game, bring your best, do what you can to help the event go smoothly.
No pressure.
That being said, if there's something that you didn't quite catch or didn't understand, that's the time that you want to go ahead, be that person, ask for a repeat or an explanation. It takes a controller less time to repeat or explain a command than it does to fix a flow disruption that got completely messed up by somebody who didn't understand something and just plowed ahead with whatever they thought was their best guess. So asking for clarification if you miss something, you're saving the controller time in the long run. Other than that, do try to limit anything that you're going to do to add to their workload.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave you with this page. It's a page we put together with some additional resources, and you can check these out in the coming week to make sure that you're as ready as possible. But at this point, I shall turn you back over to Flight Sim Association co-founder Evan Ryder. Evan, all you.
Thanks so much, Rob, Simon, and everyone, really, for the great chat. I've been enjoying answering your questions, reading your comments, and I will enjoy speaking with them. Probably at least a few of you, whether you're in the Boston area. I haven't been told which position I'll be working yet, but I'll be working for sure next weekend on Saturday for Across the Pond. So hopefully we'll talk to you guys on voice, if not somewhere else between now and then. Lots of fun comments, questions, jokes. I guess we'll start off with the joke from Scotty Bob 64, who says, Bono and the Edge walk into a bar and the bartender goes, not you two again. Yeah, I know. I debated whether I should say that. And the MG King from YouTube says, for me the hardest part of flying in the US is knowing how to pronounce the waypoints. It's a fair point. I think sports teams is a good one there. If you're ever unsure, it's probably a sports team. That's my experience.
I think you gotta be up. You have to be up on every city's pop culture references.
That's right.
Fly into it, yes.
Yeah, I like, at least in the US, the points are like something though, whereas like in the rest of the world, they're just like some random amalgamation of letters that you're like, well, I know how to say it, but what does it mean, you know?
Yeah, we used to have a few in the UK that were a bit, and there still are a few that are still there that sort of, like locations, or if you fly into Liverpool, if you're a Liverpool soccer fan, you'll notice that there is a point called Keegan, Kevin Keegan, right, and things like that. But yeah, they have now. I think the guys at ICAO have taken all the fun out of it and said you've got to.
The FAA still thinks they are very funny. So a lot of the U.S. procedures, it's not just the individual points, but the string of points often has some sort of funny meaning. And the FAA does think they're quite hilarious.
And we also have a live picture of our audience here as well. Courtesy of
that is our live. That is the live studio audience in Studio 5, just outside of Ocean City. So.
All right, well, we are, as I promised, we are going to answer some questions now. So Rob and Simon are here to answer your questions. Wherever you're watching, you can drop a question right in the chat. If you're on FSA, put it in our Discord. You can send me an email. I'll look at that. And if you are in the Cross the Pond Discord, and I've linked that up on the screen there, just ctp.vatsium.net/Discord. There's a channel called CTP Discussion. I am watching that channel for any of your questions. So fire those in. We're going to answer questions, kind of starting with the general event, then I'll talk about the oceanic stuff, and then we'll get into the arrival, just the same order that we did for the live presentation. And Rob, will start with the question that a number of people asked, which is just around how do I get a slot? If I don't have one yet, how can I get a slot if I still want to participate in the event?
Gotcha. Just generally speaking, there was a registration for interest that was a 2-week period at the end of September, beginning of October. So keep in mind for future Cross the Pond events that about maybe a month, 6 weeks out, you want to be looking at all the social media sources for the announcement of when that's going to happen. For this time around, you've missed the boat on that. However, all hope is not yet lost. What has happened this past week is everybody that had those booking appointments staggered out across the entire week have all kind of had their appointments. A good number of slots are gone. There are still a few handful that are remaining as of today. In the days leading up to the event, everyone has to get back onto that site and reconfirm. Essentially, that's the final check. Did the wife clear you to sit in front of your computer all day? Did you didn't forget about soccer practice or something that you're supposed to be at?
All good.
So there's a few slots are going to get dropped here and there. And then if people forget or neglect to go back to the website and hit that reconfirm button, those slots are going to get released back to the wind as well. That release, I'm told, is going to be happening on the 26th,
today,
which is 2 days out from the event. They have not published a specific time that release is going to happen. I think they said somewhere around 1800 Zulu, but that's the general plan. But again, stay on top of the social media, the announcements pages in the Discord for CTP, VATSIM's announcements. I think the CTP has whether you refer to it as Twitter or X, that's they're on that platform there. They'll be announcing that kind of stuff. Yeah, right, exactly.
Simon's fucking background's
so yeah, keep on top of that, and they will let you know exactly what time those unreconfirmed slots are going to be released out to the pool. But the 26th, sometime mid-late afternoon, is when you want to be looking, because that's when it's supposed to happen.
And can you talk to the actual routes in the event? If you have a slot flying between the airports, how do you know what waypoints to fly?
Yeah, like I mentioned just a couple slides ago, the route that they want you to fly is going to be sent to you, or I keep saying sent to you. I don't think they do email them out anymore, but if you just go back to that very same website, it basically becomes the hub for the event, ctp.vatsium.net. Same website that you registered your interest, same website that you voted for the airports that you wanted, same website that you picked up your slot, or that you're going to pick up a slot on the 26th. That same booking portal is going to have the route probably about 12 hours before the event starts, is when those routes are going to be uploaded to that site, and you just pull it right up from there and paste it into whatever your own planning resources are on your site. Don't fly just a regular SimBrief route from A to B. It might be different. The traffic situation for VATSIM Cross the Pond is very different than the real world traffic situation in a normal Atlantic crossing. So go by the routes that the event planners have put into that portal.
And either Rob or Simon, do you want to speak to just how this event comes to be? Like, how do they pick the airports? How do they pick the city pairs?
Sure. So the airports and city pairs are essentially picked by you, right? By VATSIM users. So every year, a couple of a month or two before the event, there's some each division that wants to take part in Cross the Pond puts forward some airports that they would like to be involved with the event, and then those are then released to the public for a vote, and then the most popular airports that have been voted for by the VATSIM public are then used for the event. So yeah, it's a really kind of community oriented thing in that sense.
And can you speak to...
Yeah, and they do have to make some adjustments to that. Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off, Evan. They do have to make some adjustments to that, because if the top 9 vote-getting airports are all in Germany, for example, well, that airspace situation is not going to work. So they get to a certain point where certain pieces of the airspace are saturated, then they have to end up skipping further down the list. But yeah, in general, they try to go by what was voted on to the best of their ability.
Sort of related to that, how does air traffic control staffing work? Do they online the entire time? Do they stagger the facilities? How do they work? What time can I expect
question.
to show
Yeah,
up?
that's a good one.
So basically, you can expect ATC for, if you've got a slot booked, you would expect that you would have ATC for your route all the way across from your point of view as a pilot, right? So the times for which that ATC will be rostered will be arranged by each facility based on when they expect the traffic to, the first traffic to arrive, essentially. So, and a little bit before and a little bit after. So it will be arranged essentially for that event duration.
That's a good answer.
When you take off from the U.S., your European controllers at your arrival are probably not online yet.
Still in bed.
So the staffing is going to basically track the route just as the pilots do.
Yeah. Question from Simon: is there a way for non-event traffic, so people flying domestically, to access the pilot briefing? This would be for someone who wants to fly domestically from one of the event airports, and I can speak to this one. Typically, Cross the Pond does not publish the pilot briefings. They're specific to the people with slots. So if you have a slot, you go into the pilot dashboard, that's where you'll access the briefing for your airport. However, some individual facilities, mine included, we will publish the pilot briefing, because from our perspective at Boston, the information is great for everybody. There's no secrets in there. It's just great tips for anyone who's flying in and out of our airport any day of the week. And so for us, you'll be able to find it on our website. Our controllers will have a link to our pilot briefing in their controller information. So you'll maybe be able to find some of them here and there, but in terms of more broad distribution officially, the Cross the Pond team at this point does not distribute the pilot briefings except to those people who have a booking or a slot.
True.
That's all we have for the general. Any comments on that, guys?
Yeah, I was just going to say, and actually that is a really good point as well, in general terms, that a really good way to prepare yourself better for your flights on the network, across the board, is to take a look at the facility website, the ACC, RTAC, etc., and have a look to see if they've published some pilot briefings, some pilot information for, when you're flying into their airspace, because quite often there is information there and it's really handy stuff, and it really makes the controllers' lives easier if you're across all of that stuff. So yeah, try and get into the habit of just taking a look, seeing if there's some information published, because you might be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, and it just speaks well to a comment that Benny made on the FSA Discord about, you can start now, but even as you get the pilot briefing maybe the day before, have a look at the airports that you're flying out of. Like if you've never operated out of Boston and that's your departure airport, maybe spawn in there, have a look around the taxiways. Do the labels match up? Does the airport match what you see on the charts? Like just a little bit of familiarization can help, and then as we get closer, once the route comes out, once the pilot briefing is available to you, you could almost, I'm not saying, pre-fly a whole flight, but you could do a departure, just even single player mode or on the network when one of our controllers are on, just to give you that familiarity. Even in real life, when we fly into
I'm not worried about Orlando. I've done that a million times.
It's just confusing. It's overwhelming. There's just hard to know where exactly you're supposed to go. Then you've been there a couple times and you're like, this is a piece of cake now. So if you have the opportunity to practice stuff, it just makes things that much smoother on the day of. Moving to oceanic stuff now. So Victor asks, will you be able to request the oceanic clearance via voice if you want to?
I believe you. I believe you probably will be able to. The preference is that you request it via NatTrack, because basically it makes everybody's life a whole lot easier, right? Because when you request it via voice, an oceanic delivery controller is going to take that, transcribe that information, put it all into the system. It's all going to kind of chug round, and then they're going to come back with an answer for you and stuff like that. So it does increase the workload.
with Orlando.
If you had an issue with NatTrack, I imagine there will be some provision for voice. If I'm not right about that, let me know. But I'm very much the strong preference is that certainly that to get that clearance over NatTrack.
And just to add to that,
probably.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think if you as a pilot flying in your first cross the pond event are asking, "May I do this? May I do that?"
they're having
a
an
good
event soon.
question to ask yourself before seeking the answer to that question is what I'm asking going to increase the controller's workload? If the answer is probably yes, the answer is you probably shouldn't be doing it then.
Yeah, and then that question, obviously, with respect to oceanic clearances, that was for the North Atlantic. So just to be clear, Flight Boy 737 asks, there are no oceanic clearances for the South Atlantic. Is that correct?
That's correct. So the only airspace that we need to get a specific clearance through NatTrack for is Gander and Reykjavik, essentially, because obviously we're flying eastbound, so you won't, those would be the facilities that you'd come into first. Everything else, so New York Oceanic deal with it behind the scenes, as do all of the other South Atlantic airspaces. So it's all kind of coordinated behind the scenes with your IFR flight plan. You will be given a level and a Mach number to fly, however.
Perfect. I don't know if this is officially talked about, but people every now and again, somebody wants to go westbound, so they go the opposite direction to cross the pond. Do you know if that's going to be officially supported this year? Do people get their clearance through NatTrack as well? I'm not actually sure.
We're just finishing up our briefing.
I'm not sure, to be honest. Generally speaking, in the past, it hasn't been supported, so you generally tend not to get very much, shall we say.
There was a conversation to that effect in the Ask the Planning Team channel in the Cross the Pond Discord, and the answer was no, please don't do that.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Really, the idea is like, if you want to fly somewhere and you're not an event airplane, please do it domestically and just don't even go over the ocean. That will make everyone's lives just so much easier. CellCal, question about CellCal.
You're not going to get ATC services.
Yeah. Question about CellCal from Belichu. I hope I pronounced that okay. Is CellCal something that's built into vPilot, or do we have to download some add-on in order for it to work?
No, exactly. So CellCal is built into your pilot client, into vPilot, XPilot, and all of the other clients.
10,000.
I'm sure it is.
All one of the other pilots.
Yeah, all one of the other ones. Yeah, so it's built in. So all you need is your pilot client, as I say. There will be an option in the connection dialog there to enter your CellCal code that you've been assigned by when you get your cross the pond route briefing. As I say, really important that you use the CellCal code that you've been assigned for cross the pond. Make sure you put it in there, and make sure you have it in your flight plan as well. Remarks as well is the other thing to say, but definitely make sure you have it in the connection window, otherwise it won't work. And what will happen is that you'll get when you receive a CellCal, your pilot client, your vPilot window will basically flash, and it will make a noise. It will make a chime. Useful little tip on that, by the way. So one of the things that people often wonder about is how you can split the audio out for vPilot, and I'm sure this is the same with XPilot as well. So, for example, if you've got the comms through your headset, how can you make the CellCal ping, for example, come through your loudspeakers? And the answer is that vPilot sounds, so like CellCal pings, the text message sound that you get, private message alerts, things like that, are played through the default Windows audio device. Whereas you can select where your voice communications go through if you go into the vPilot settings. So the way to do it would be to set your default Windows audio device to your speakers, and then to go into the vPilot settings and then select obviously your headset for your headset output for your voice communications, and that way you'll get all your vPilot sounds come out of your speakers, and your radio communications will be in your headset. So when you get over the Atlantic, you can take your headset off, but you'll still get any alerts, private message pings, CellCal alerts, etc.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask a bunch of CPDL questions in a second.
That's
so
a good call, though.
CPDLC stuff,
I didn't
please
think about
ask
that.
it now. A question about the arrival process. I know in Europe, oftentimes stands or parking spots can be assigned by ATC. And so are they going to be assigning those reflecting the fact that there's wide bodies? And how do we help
Oh, yeah, I heard that they are.
given the fact that everyone's got to fly a wide body and obviously not all stands can support that necessarily?
Yeah, so what generally happens nowadays, and obviously every facility is going to have a slightly different way of doing this, but generally speaking, controllers in Europe have got plugins in their controller clients that will automatically assign stands, and they're pretty clever, right? So they understand the aircraft type that's in the flight plan, and they understand your airline based on the airline, like the call sign that you use, and they will generally send you to an available stand that fits your aeroplane and that is at the right parking location for your airline. Obviously, there is some room for maneuver within that because, for example, especially across the pond, you might be flying into an airport that isn't served by that airline in real life and things like that. So there is some flexibility in there. But generally speaking, again, it would generally kind of fall back to make sure it gives you a suitably sized stand, if not necessarily a 100% accurate location on the airport type of thing. But yeah, so in general, it will work. It works pretty well, and it will know also whether stands are occupied as well. So it will only assign you a free stand. Again, sometimes that obviously people can log on in the meantime between the system assigning you a stand and you getting that. So again, that sort of stuff can change a little bit, or can be updated by the controller. But generally, as long as you've got the right aircraft type in your flight plan, the automated assignment will be pretty close there most of the time. And controllers are also really good at knowing generally where what can park where. Having said that, and Rob mentioned as well also in the presentation about the importance of disconnecting once you've landed to free up the gates, which is really important, so that the next aircraft can then get in there and you don't end up with like loads of congestion on the ground. So yeah, generally it's pretty good. Obviously, if you get something that you and I would say as well, bear in mind it is a really busy event, and the traffic profile in terms of chucking a whole load of wide bodies into airports at a greater volume than they usually would be in real life, for example, is a slight, it's not quite as it would be in real life. So I would say try and be flexible. Maybe try to accept that you might for the sake of the event you might have to accept something which isn't necessarily 100% accurate and 100% realistic. It's kind of it's a bit within the nature of how VATSIM sometimes is in those situations. But if you can't accept something, as always, just speak to the controller and say, do you know what, actually that gate, I can't accept that gate or that taxi route because it's, my aircraft's too wide for the taxiway code. Can I have such and such? As always, if you're going to say unable, it's great if you've got a plan to propose as well.
It's good customer service. Don't tell them what you can't do. Tell them what you can do.
Exactly.
The other thing is you don't need to linger. I mean, as much as it's a huge event, it's a great event. It's a lot of fun to continue to watch the traffic come in. Okay, great. Disconnect your pilot client, reconnect as an observer, stay around and watch that way for a little bit. That way you're not physically occupying that gate and somebody else can use it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I want to ask a bunch of various CPDLC, PDC type questions, and this is complicated, and I appreciate that because it does depend on the airport, the facility, the country, where you are, so there are all kinds of different
this is all you. I'm going to go put my Taylor Swift
yeah, I would do the same. Yeah. So out of the United States, and I think generally most of Canada, we don't really simulate CPDLC, and that's true of real life, and that's true of the network as well. So in the United States, for sure, out of almost every departure facility, your clearance is going to come via a private message from a thing called ACARS. It probably won't come from the clearance delivery controller.
We got
it's
ACARS.
going to come from ACARS, but it will be a private message. It is not going to appear in your hobby client. It is not going to appear in your airplane. There's no integration for that. yet. There may be at some stage in the
That'd be
future, but
tight.
that does not exist on VATSIM at
the
this
moment.
stage.
Yeah.
Now, you get going, there's typically in the US no CPDLC en route, so you're just talking via voice. It's as simple as that. That's the US departure portion, mostly sorted out. Now, moving into Oceanic, Simon, I'm going to lean on you a little bit here. So in the North Atlantic, we don't really use CPDLC. We use NatTrack, which is kind of CPDLC, right? So that's how you're getting your Oceanic clearance. That's all happening more or less textually. And then after that, there's really no more en route CPDLC there. You're just checking on doing your cell cal check. Is that correct?
Exactly right, yeah.
Yeah, good. See, I was paying attention. That's good. And then it's really not until you move into like Europe and Africa, sort of domestic centers, that's where you're going to see the CPDLC usage in more of an integrated way. So that's where the Hoppy client is going to work. The airplane is going to, if it's integrated, be able to get those messages. That doesn't exist in the departure phase, but it will exist in your arrival phase. Is that fair to say?
Exactly right. Yeah, exactly that.
Perfect. All right. So now CPDLC, when I say CPDLC, it means all of that. Okay. So the question from Anders or Anders maybe in the VATSIM Discord is like, is CPDLC mandatory, or can you more or less get away without it?
Lined up on one
no, it's not mandatory. You can absolutely get away without it, but it is. So it's something that's worth exploring. The reason I say that is because, as I mentioned, the great thing about it is it does help reduce some of the frequency congestion, which makes it obviously easier to get a word in edgeways when you want to check in. It makes it easier to get those important messages out. As I say, if ATC need to get in touch with you to give you some avoiding action or some sort of really urgent transmission, if the frequency is clearer, because some of those routine transmissions, things like frequency changes, directs, that sort of stuff, are kind of taken out of the voice realm and are transmitted over CPDLC. That can kind of, it can help ATC, and it can help ATC be a little bit more efficient as well, because they typically will have integration on their side. So if you're not a controller, you may not be aware that when a controller gives you an instruction, what they will do is they will update your data tag on their screen with the instruction that they've given you. So they'll tell you to climb flight level 360, and then they'll have to go into your data tag, update it so that it says, you're cleared to flight level 360, you're cleared direct this waypoint or that waypoint or on this heading or whatever it might be. And so
we're on the approach.
Because they've got to do that anyway, typically a CPDLC integration on the ATC side means that they just update your tag and it bang pings off a message, and then once it'll probably change your their tag a different color whilst until you've acknowledged it, and then once you've acknowledged it, it'll go back to its normal color or something like that, so that they can see that instruction's been sent and received. So you can see how actually that kind of integrates into the controller's workflow really easily, and enables them to actually be quite quick about dealing with lots more traffic. So it does help increase capacity in a lot of cases for ATC, but no, it's not mandatory.
And a question from...
It's a short answer.
Yeah, very short. A question from Rob is like 4 songs into his Taylor Swift album over there. A question from Benny would be, is voice contact required before I check on when I check on in CPDLC, or simultaneously? How does that work?
Yes. So yes is the short answer to that. So yes. So voice is always the primary means of communication. So that means we have to check in on voice, and we have to keep monitoring the frequency. We have to keep a headset on, listening across, listening to for our call sign, listening for any transmissions that might come to us. It's not a log on to CPDLC, headset off, feet up, Taylor Swift on, right?
Okay, gear down.
Yeah, voice. So we always need to establish voice communications by checking in. And
I'll finish that up later. It is time to land.
I just want to tell you both good luck. We're all counting on you.
Down, we're slowing down, lights on. False traffic, Delta 703. is on a 10-mile final, 19er left. Laps 3. Speed brake, we'll do 2, medium. Laps full. Speeds here in just a second. Spoilers arm. Done. Transmit only. Check, check, check. And final speeds. There we go. All set. Let's go. Let's do it. Here we go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Nice and easy. Nice and easy. Exit right. Set the speed brake up a little bit, or the auto brake up. Yeah, there we go. Medium. Schmedium. Here we go. Irish in the chat.
100 above.
I think it's gonna be greaser. I think it's gonna be way below that, bro. Way below that. I'm gonna take it here.
400.
Not even do the 200 rule.
Whoop, whoop. That's the sound of the police. Whoop, whoop. That's the sound of the...
Here we go.
200. 100. 50. 40, 30, 20, 10, 5.
What was it? Oh, 258. $258. I mean, it was just shy. It was pretty good though, right? I thought that was pretty good. And we cleared the runway nice and easy. What do we have to do? Take a wide turn here. Okay. False traffic. Delta 703 clear. 19er left. Taxiing the gates via Juliet. I think the replay would be nice, right? That might not be too bad, right? Irish, your TCA Captain's Pack is going to be coming out to you very soon now that I'm back. So, get psyched for that. I think they say it's like 2 to 4 days once it's out in the mail. So, I'll keep an eye on it. Yeah, man. I'm telling you, it gives you a lot more precise controlling. You just feel a lot more... I'm very excited to hear what your like your first instinct is of it. I want to watch your... I hope you use it on stream. I want to watch you grease one with it. It's a blast. It's very nice. It feels good. It really does feel good. Okay, in terms of lights, we can kill those, and kill that. And we'll expedite on V1 for the taxi. You know what? I think we can park it right here. Some nice gates over here. This is where the United Lounge is, the Polaris Lounge, which is not as impressive as you would think it would be, but it is what it is, right? Alright, we're gonna park right in here. Welcome to Dulles. There's the people movers. Here we are. I would consider that parked. Yeah, right?
Not bad. And we always need to keep listening. But yeah.
No. Oh, what was the song that I wanted to hear? Shoot. I heard something there. Oh yeah, here it is. All right, this is what you guys get to listen for the replay. Okay.
Touch it, grab it, fold it, flip it.
Yeah, that's it. All right, enjoy the replay. Let's go. All right, guys, you guys take it easy, and we will see you next time. We're getting ready, so we'll probably be online tomorrow, getting ready for Across the Pond. So maybe we'll see you tomorrow. Until then, enjoy the replay, and we will see you next time. See ya.
Flip it,
Fold it, grab it, touch it.
flip it, flip it, flip it. Fold it, grab it, grab it, grab it, grab it, grab it. Touch it, touch it, touch it. Flip it, flip it, flip it, flip it, flip it. Fold it, grab it, grab it, grab it, grab it. Touch it, grab it, fold it, flip it, flip it.
Fold it, grab it, touch it.
Touch it, grab it, fold it, flip it, flip it.
Fold it, grab it, touch it.
Flip it, flip, 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 flip it, flip, 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 flip.
Touch it, 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 touch it,
Flip it, touch it, grab it, fold it, flip it, flip it.
fold it, grab it, touch it.
Touch it, grab it, fold it, flip it, flip it.
Fold it, grab it, touch it.
Touch it, grab it, fold it, flip it.